Laura waited until I had scraped the dinner plates into the trash before she told me our marriage was over. I had the faucet running. The garbage disposal was chewing through a piece of lemon rind, so at first I thought I'd heard her wrong. What? Our marriage, she said. I'm done, Tom. She was sitting at the kitchen table with both hands around a mug she hadn't drunk from. The mug said, "World's okayest gardener." Caleb had given it to her as a joke, though the joke had faded after she killed 2 tomato plants and blamed the soil. I shut off the water. Laura looked at the clock above my shoulder. The movers are coming next Saturday. I actually glanced at the wall calendar. Next Saturday, the 12th. That's 9 days from now. I know what day it is. Does Caleb know? She didn't ask why I'd chosen him out of everyone we knew. She just lowered her eyes to the mug. Yes. The refrigerator came on behind me. I could hear the faint rattle I'd been meaning to fix. How long has he known? He helped me arrange the move. That was when the room changed. Not when she said the marriage was over. Not when she said movers. It changed when I pictured my son choosing a date for his mother to leave me and then coming here for Sunday pot roast, as if the only secret between us was how much butter I'd put in the potatoes. I dried my hands slowly. Laura watched me do it. Please say something. What would you like me to say? Her face tightened. That right there. I folded the dish towel and hung it over the oven handle. I don't know what that means. Of course you don't. She got up and carried her untouched coffee to the sink. She wore gray slacks and a blue sweater I had bought her 2 Christmases earlier. I remembered standing in a department store, holding that sweater against my chest, while a saleswoman about half my age told me blue was a safe choice. Apparently it hadn't been safe enough. Where are you moving? I asked. The Linden Apartments? Over by the old movie theater? Yes. They tore that theater down. I know, Tom. I live here too. There were 6 possible answers to that, none likely to help. I chose the one I understood. What size apartment? She gave a short laugh without any humor in it. A 1-bedroom, 7th floor. There's a small balcony. You hate elevators. I'll adjust. How long have you had the lease? 3 weeks. The words landed one at a time, each with its own little weight. 3 weeks meant she had signed it before we went to Frank's birthday dinner, before she sat beside me at a steakhouse and nudged my knee under the table when my brother started telling the story about the fishing boat again, before she asked me whether we should replace the carpet in the hallway, before she stood in the paint aisle at Lowe's and held up 2 nearly identical cards while I pretended there was a meaningful difference between warm oatmeal and weathered flax. You asked me to price carpet, I said. I didn't know how to tell you, so you had me measure the hallway. I was trying to keep things normal. For who? She turned away and pressed both palms to the counter. For a second, I saw the woman who used to stand like that when contractions hit, all those years ago, refusing to let me touch her until the pain passed. Caleb was 33 now. I could still remember the little half-moons her fingernails had left in the vinyl countertop of our first house. I didn't want every day to become a fight, she said. We don't fight. That's the problem. I looked at the chair where I'd been sitting 20 minutes earlier. My napkin was still folded beside my plate. Laura had eaten half her chicken and moved the green beans around until they went cold. I'd noticed. I just hadn't asked. How long have you been planning to leave? I don't know. You know when the movers are coming. That's not what I mean. Then tell me what you mean. She stared out the dark window over the sink. Our reflections floated in the glass, her in front, me several feet behind. It looked like an old photograph of 2 people who happened to be standing in the same room. I've been unhappy for a long time, she said. How long? Years. That should have made me angry. Instead, I thought of all the ordinary Tuesdays she had spent being unhappy without my knowing exactly how unhappy. Years was too big to hold in one thought, so my mind offered smaller things. A basket of laundry on the stairs, her reading glasses left on the porch, 2 steaks thawing in the refrigerator because she had asked for them that morning. Is there somebody else? No. You don't have to protect me. I'm not protecting you. There is nobody else. I believed her. Laura was capable of secrecy, apparently, but she had never been good at divided attention. When she read a novel, the house could burn down around her. An affair would have required a second calendar. Did Caleb help you find the place? Yes. Did Julia know? I don't think so. You don't think so? He said he hadn't told her. That sounded like Caleb. He had inherited my talent for calling silence a form of protection. I moved past Laura and checked the back door. It was already locked. I checked it every night after dinner, whether I remembered locking it or not. She watched me test the knob. Are you going to keep doing chores? It's locked, I can see that. You asked me to say something. I'm trying to figure out which part to say first. Anything real would be a start. I turned around. My wife just told me she signed a lease 3 weeks ago. My son helped her. Movers are coming in 9 days. I'm standing here wondering whether he sat in this kitchen after he booked them. Laura's mouth opened, then closed. That was answer enough. When? Tom? When was he here? Last Sunday. Last Sunday, Caleb had stood beside me at the counter slicing carrots too thick because he never listened when I told him they wouldn't cook evenly. He'd asked to borrow my tape measure. He said he needed it for shelves. I could see it in Laura's apartment now. Caleb stretching the yellow blade across a wall while she wrote down numbers. My tape measure had a strip of blue painter's tape on the back where I had marked it years ago, so Frank wouldn't confuse it with his. I'd handed it to Caleb with a warning not to lose it. The shelves, I said. Laura flinched. What? He didn't need the tape measure for shelves. There are shelves. Don't do that. I'm not doing anything. You're sanding the edges off it. She crossed her arms. You always want exact details when the larger truth is right in front of you. The exact details are where people usually hide the truth. Her eyes filled, which made everything harder. I wasn't prepared for her to cry. I could handle anger. Anger gave you something solid to stand against. I have tried, she said. I have tried to reach you for years. By leasing an apartment? Before that. When? She wiped under one eye with the heel of her hand. The trip to Savannah. That was 4 years ago. Yes. You wanted to go in October. I couldn't get the time off. I didn't want Savannah, Tom. I wanted you to care that I was asking. I did care. You researched hotel prices for 2 hours and then explained why March would be cheaper. It was cheaper. She laughed, and this time there was pain in it. Exactly. I leaned against the counter because I didn't trust the room to stay level. So we're ending 36 years because I priced hotels? No. We're ending because you can stand there right now and make this about hotel prices. You brought up Savannah. Because you asked when I tried. And I'm listening. No, you're collecting evidence. Maybe because everybody else already had the trial. She looked at me then. Really looked. Something in her expression changed, but not enough for me to name it. I never wanted Caleb in the middle, she said. He booked the moving date. I needed someone. You had me. No, Tom. I had a man who would replace every broken thing in this house except the silence. The sentence was polished. She had thought about it before. Maybe she had said it to Caleb. Maybe Caleb had helped her improve it. I opened the refrigerator and took out the 2 steaks. Their plastic wrapping was cold against my hand. What are you doing? She asked. Putting these in the freezer. Why? Because you said you'd be at Denise's tomorrow night, and I'm not eating both. She stared at me as if I had performed some elaborate insult. Can you not do that for 5 minutes? Do what? Act like this is a weather delay. I put the steaks in the freezer and shut the door. Would it be better if I threw them? At least I would know you felt something. There it was. Not the whole thing, but a piece of it. You want me to throw dinner? I want you to stop being so controlled. You planned your exit for 8 months and scheduled movers before you told me, but I'm making you uncomfortable because I'm not yelling. I did not plan for 8 months. I looked at her. She looked away first. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. The refrigerator rattled again. Somewhere outside, a dog barked twice and stopped. Is there paperwork? I asked. Not tonight. I mean, for the movers. Building rules, elevator times. Caleb has it handled. The phrase went through me cleaner than any accusation. Caleb has it handled. For years that had been my job. Airport pickup, clogged drain, tax question, dead battery, Christmas lights, folding tables, extra chairs. If something needed handling, the family called Tom. Now they had handled me. Laura went to the small desk beside the dining room and opened a drawer. She took out a yellow legal pad, tore off 3 pages, and held them toward me. What's that? Things that need to be done before the move. I didn't take them. She set them on the table. Her handwriting ran in neat blue lines. Dismantle bed frame, wrap dresser, disconnect television, move plants, patch nail holes. At the bottom, she had written balcony door sticks, bring tools. You want me to fix your new apartment? The maintenance office hasn't gotten to it. Then call them again. You know it would take you 10 minutes? I'm sure it would. Tom, please, I'm not trying to be cruel. That may be the first thing tonight I don't believe. She went pale. I picked up the pages, folded them once, and slid them across the table until they stopped beside her mug. You're free to leave, I said. I won't stop you, but I'm not taking apart our bed so another man can carry it out. They're movers, not another man. You know what I mean. For once, she didn't correct me. That night, Laura slept in the guest room. I stayed in our bed, though sleep had nothing to do with it. The house made its usual sounds, the vent clicking, pipes settling, an acorn rolling down the roof, and every one of them seemed indecently normal. At 2 a.m, I remembered the dresser. A month earlier, Laura had asked me to fix the bottom drawer because it dragged. Caleb had been there. He held the flashlight while I reset the runner, even though the room was bright enough without it. When I finished, he tested the drawer twice. Solid, he'd said. Laura had touched his shoulder. At the time, I thought it was affection. Lying there in the dark, I understood it had been gratitude. By 6, I was on the porch replacing a bulb that had burned out 3 days earlier. The morning was cool, the kind that made the metal ladder sting your hands. I had just screwed the glass cover back into place when Caleb's truck pulled into the driveway. He got out carrying 2 coffees and wearing the careful expression people bring to hospital waiting rooms. Dad, he said. I climbed down and folded the ladder. He held out one of the cups. I figured you might be up. I looked at the coffee, then at him. How long? His hand stopped in midair. How long did you know she was leaving? He lowered the cup. A few weeks. How many? 3. He said it quickly. Too quickly. And in that second I saw something I had somehow missed my whole life. My son had learned to lie calmly by watching me tell everyone I was fine. How long, Caleb? His shoulders dropped. 8 months, he said. The ladder felt heavier than it had a minute earlier. I carried it into the garage, set it against the wall, and took the time to hook the bungee cord around it. Caleb followed me. Dad, it wasn't like she had an apartment 8 months ago. No, she just had you. She was upset. And you were what? My mother's son. I turned around. He was still holding both coffees. One had a white lid, one black, because he knew I took mine plain, and Laura liked enough cream to change the species of the drink. I'm your father. I know that. You keep saying things you know. He put my coffee on the workbench. The bench had 3 screwdrivers on it, a jar of loose hardware, and the instruction booklet for a ceiling fan I'd installed 6 years before. I could find that booklet in the dark, but I hadn't known what was happening in my own bedroom. She asked me not to tell you, he said. And that settled it? What was I supposed to do? Say no. To her? Yes, Caleb. Your mother is a grown woman. She can survive hearing the word no. He rubbed the back of his neck. She needed to talk to someone. There's a wide stretch of road between listening to someone and booking the freight elevator. That happened 3 weeks ago. You keep saying that, like the first 7 months were free. He looked toward the open garage door. The neighborhood was waking up around us. A sprinkler ticked across the Gilmore's lawn. A woman in pink running shoes passed with a golden retriever who wanted to inspect my mailbox. She waved. I waved back. Caleb stared at me. How can you do that? Do what? Wave at somebody. Darla didn't schedule your mother's move. He let out a breath and sat on the overturned bucket beside the workbench. At 33, he had Laura's dark hair and my unfortunate knees. I'd spent years telling him not to sit on overturned buckets because they could crack. That morning, I didn't care. She wasn't planning the whole time, he said. She'd call me after you two had an argument. We didn't have arguments. That was part of what she was upset about. Apparently, everybody got a copy of the same speech. That's not fair. Good. We found something that isn't. His jaw tightened. It was an old expression, one he'd worn at 16 whenever I asked whether he'd put gas in the car. You think I wanted this? I don't know what you wanted. I wasn't included. I wanted her to be okay. And me? I thought you were okay. Because I'd changed a light bulb? Because you're always okay. That stopped me. He looked sorry as soon as he said it, but he didn't take it back. The strange part was that I understood what he meant. When my father died, I made sandwiches for everyone who came to the house. When the company Laura worked for cut her hours, I built a new budget before she finished crying. When Caleb's first marriage ended after 14 months, I drove through an ice storm, loaded his clothes into my truck, and never once asked why he hadn't told us things were bad. Being okay was the closest thing I had to a family title. You thought wrong, I said. He looked down at the coffee in his hands. The door from the kitchen opened behind us. Laura stood there barefoot, wearing the robe my sister had given her for Christmas. She took in Caleb on the bucket, the coffees, and me beside the ladder. You called him, I asked. I texted him last night. At what point? After I went upstairs. So, while I was freezing steaks. She closed her eyes briefly. Please don't make every detail into a weapon. You keep leaving weapons around. Caleb stood. Can we not do this in the garage? Laura glanced toward the street, worried someone might hear. That almost made me laugh. She had hidden the end of our marriage for months, but the possibility of Darla Gilmore learning it beside a sprinkler was suddenly an emergency. I picked up the coffee Caleb had bought me. Come inside, Laura said. I'm going to work. It's barely 7. Traffic. You don't get traffic. Maybe I'll find some. Caleb stepped in front of the workbench. Dad, we need to talk. We are talking. No, you're taking shots and walking away. I looked at him. You've had 8 months to talk. I've had since dinner. His face softened, which made me angrier than if he'd argued. I'm sorry, he said. Laura's eyes went straight to him. Caleb. What? You don't have to apologize for supporting me. I'm apologizing for lying to Dad. You didn't lie. He asked me why I couldn't have breakfast 3 Saturdays ago. I said, work. You were helping me. That doesn't make it true. I watched the two of them look at each other, and there it was. The small fracture neither had expected. They had built their secret around the idea that the truth would damage me. Now they were discovering it could damage them too. Does Julia know? I asked. Caleb's mouth flattened. No, Laura crossed her arms. That's between him and Julia. No, it isn't, Caleb said. She thinks I've been working Saturdays. You don't owe her a report of every conversation with your mother. His head came up. That isn't what this was. Laura recoiled as if he'd raised his voice, though he hadn't. I took my keys from the hook near the door. The key ring had a red plastic tag from a hardware store that closed 9 years earlier. Laura had tried to replace it twice. I liked that I could find it by touch. You two should finish this without me, I said. Tom, Laura said. What? I know you're hurt. I waited. She didn't add anything. That sounded like it had another half, I said. I don't want you punishing Caleb. I asked him questions. You know how you get. I looked at Caleb. How do I get? He glanced at his mother before answering. Quiet. There was no good response to that. Anything I said would prove somebody's point. I left through the garage. I didn't slam the truck door, though I considered it. The engine started on the first turn because I had replaced the battery in March. On the workbench, Caleb's second coffee sat where he'd left it, still warm, steam slipping through the hole in the lid. I drove toward work and past the entrance on purpose. For 20 minutes, I had no destination. I took roads I normally avoided because of construction, then got annoyed at the construction. At a 4-way stop, a man in a silver sedan waved me through even though he had arrived first. I waved him through. He waved harder. We sat there politely refusing to move until the woman behind him leaned on her horn. I finally went. At a diner near the interstate, I ordered eggs and toast, despite having already eaten dinner, too recently to be hungry. The waitress called me honey and topped off my coffee every time it dropped below the rim. A couple in the booth across from me argued about a storage unit. They were probably in their 70s. The woman wanted to get rid of a sofa. The man insisted it was a good sofa. It has a spring coming out of it, she said. You can fix a spring. You can fix anything except ugly. He buttered his toast and told her she had married him. She laughed so hard she started coughing. I had to look away. My phone buzzed. Caleb. I let it stop. A moment later, Laura called. I turned the phone face down beside the syrup dispenser. When it buzzed a third time, I expected one of them again, but Frank's name appeared on the screen. I answered. You dead? My brother asked. Not currently. You didn't text me back. When? Tuesday. It was Friday. I had no memory of him texting, but when I checked, there it was beneath a picture he had sent of a squirrel sitting in his bird feeder. You asked if I knew anybody who wanted a pressure washer. Yeah. No. Good talk. He started to hang up. Frank? What? I looked at the couple across from me. The woman had taken the man's toast. He was pretending not to notice. "What are you doing next Saturday?" There was a pause. "Depends. You need a kidney?" "No." "Then probably nothing." "Can I come over?" Another pause, longer this time. Frank and I were only 3 years apart, but somewhere in the middle of my marriage we had become men who mostly communicated through jokes, forwarded weather warnings, and requests for tools. Laura didn't dislike him exactly. She disliked the way he could turn dinner into an argument over whether decorative towels were evidence of societal decline. I had gradually stopped inviting him because it was easier than asking either of them to behave. "You're asking 9 days ahead?" he said. "Should I wear a tie?" "Laura's moving out." The joke left his voice. "Moving out where?" "An apartment." "Why?" "She says the marriage is over." Frank was quiet. I could hear a television in the background and the rattle of what sounded like a bag of chips. "When did this happen?" he asked. "Last night." "And you're calling me from work?" "I'm not at work. Where are you?" "A diner." "Which diner?" "I'm not asking you to come get me. I didn't say you were. You were about to. I was going to ask if they had pie." I looked at the rotating case near the register. Apple and coconut cream. Coconut cream from a rotating case is how they get you. How who gets you? Doctors, funeral homes. It's a whole supply chain. I smiled before I could stop myself. Then Frank said, "Come here now. I have work. You just said you're not there. I can still go." "You can. Or you can come sit on my porch and tell me why your wife is moving out before I hear some improved version from somebody else." I traced a scratch in the tabletop with one finger. Caleb knew. Frank went silent again. "He helped her find the apartment," I said. "He booked the movers. He's known she was thinking about it for 8 months. That son of a bitch. He's still my son." "I know. I meant it accurately, not permanently. Don't start. I'm on your side. I haven't asked you to pick one. Fine. I'm on the side where people tell you your own marriage is ending before they reserve an elevator." The waitress approached with the coffee pot. I covered my cup with my hand. "Give me an hour," I said. "Bring pie. I'm not bringing you rotating pie. Then don't bother coming." He hung up. When I returned to the house that afternoon, Laura's car was gone. Caleb's truck was gone too. The coffee he'd bought me still sat on the workbench, cold now. On the kitchen table, Laura's 3-page list had been moved beneath the sugar bowl. Beside it lay my tape measure. Caleb had returned it. I picked it up and pulled out 6 inches of the yellow blade. It snapped back with the same clean sound it always had. Then I opened the drawer where Laura kept pens, batteries, takeout menus, and all the other things that belonged nowhere else. Inside were 3 paint samples held together with a paper clip, warm oatmeal, weathered flax, and a third color I had never seen. New beginning. I stood there longer than the joke deserved. Then I closed the drawer, left the list under the sugar bowl, and went upstairs to find out what else in my house had already been packed. The first thing I noticed was that Laura's side of the closet looked exactly the same. Her dresses hung by color because she claimed that saved time, and then spent 10 minutes deciding between 2 blue shirts. Her shoes were lined up beneath them. The gray sweater she wore on rainy days was folded on the shelf beside a straw hat she had bought in Charleston and never worn outside the hotel. Nothing looked disturbed until I pulled open the cabinet above the closet rod. The luggage was gone. I checked under the bed. 2 empty plastic storage tubs had been pushed against the wall, along with a flat box that had once held Christmas ornaments. In the guest room, the floral bedspread was rumpled from where Laura had slept. 3 sealed cartons sat beneath the window, their labels turned toward the wall. I rotated the first one. Bathroom. The second said books. The third said winter/closet. She had been carrying pieces of our house past me and sealing them with tape. Maybe while I was mowing. Maybe while I was fixing the dresser. Maybe while I stood 6 feet away asking whether she wanted chicken or pork for dinner. On top of the guest room dresser was the framed photograph from our 25th anniversary. We were standing on a pedestrian bridge in Chicago, pressed together against the wind. Laura's hair was blowing across my mouth. I was laughing because she'd just told the stranger taking the picture that I had gas. The photograph was face down. I set it upright. Behind it was a roll of packing tape. I went back downstairs and found the wedding picture still hanging in the dining room. The frame was slightly crooked. It had probably been that way for months. I straightened it, then felt foolish and tilted it crooked again. The garage door opened 20 minutes later. Laura came through carrying 4 flattened boxes under one arm and a grocery bag in the other. She stopped when she saw me at the table. "You're home. I live here. That's not what I meant. I know." She put the boxes against the wall. The grocery bag contained bananas, yogurt, coffee creamer, and the crackers I liked. I watched her unpack them. "Did you go upstairs?" she asked. "Yes." Her hands paused on the yogurt. "I was going to tell you about the boxes." "When?" "I don't know." "Tonight?" "After you told me about the luggage." She set the yogurt in the refrigerator harder than necessary. "Do you need an inventory?" "I need to know what's leaving my house." "Our house. For 8 more days." Her face tightened. "I'm not taking anything that isn't mine. I didn't say you were. You're making it sound like I'm stealing. You're the one who chose the word." She shut the refrigerator and leaned against it. "The dresser was my grandmother's." "I know." "The bedroom lamps were a wedding gift from my parents." "I know that too." "I'd like one of them. Take both." "I don't need both." "Then take one." Her eyes narrowed. "You're going to do this with everything, aren't you?" "What am I doing? Making me say it. Making me point at 36 years of things and choose which half belongs to me. You chose the apartment. It probably has dimensions. You think this is easy for me? I think you've had 3 weeks to decide where the dresser goes." She looked past me toward the dining room. "Did you straighten the wedding picture?" "No. It was straight this morning." "Maybe the house shifted." "Tom, take whatever pictures you want." "I don't want the wedding picture." That hurt in a clean, uncomplicated way. I appreciated it. "All right," I said. She crossed her arms. "That's it? What would be the useful number of times for me to ask? I wish you'd stop talking like a machine. A machine would have seen the boxes." She turned and started refolding the boxes she'd brought, pressing the creases with the side of her hand. "Caleb went home," she said. "Good." He was upset. So was I. "He's caught in the middle." I looked at her. "There wasn't a middle until you put him there. He is an adult. He made his own decisions. That's the first thing you've said about him that we agree on." She flattened another box. "You always do this." "Do what?" "Find the sentence you can win." "I didn't know we were keeping score. That's because you're usually ahead." I almost laughed. "Laura, I found paint samples in the drawer. One of them is called New Beginning." Color rose in her cheeks. "I didn't name it. You picked it. I haven't picked anything. I brought home samples. Before or after you asked me about the hallway." She folded the last box and stacked it with the others. "I wanted the apartment to feel like mine. Then why hide the color in our kitchen?" "I didn't hide it. I put it in a drawer. The drawer full of dead batteries and soy sauce packets. I was going to take it with me. On moving day, while I dismantled the bed, I shouldn't have made the list. No, the list was useful. You gave it back. It showed me what you thought my role would be." She pressed her lips together, and for a moment we stood amid the same late afternoon light that had filled that kitchen for 22 years. Dust floated above the table. Somewhere in the wall, the ice maker dropped a tray with a clatter. "I didn't expect you to do everything," she said. "You wrote down everything. I thought you might want to help. Why? Because this is hard for both of us. You thought helping you leave would make it easier for me? I thought it might give us something practical to do." There it was again. The practical thing is a substitute for the unbearable one. I had taught her that language. Now that she was fluent, I hated the sound of it. "Caleb needs to tell Julia," I said. Laura looked annoyed by the change of subject. "That is his decision." "No, it was his decision 3 Saturdays ago. Now it's just a delayed consequence. You don't need to involve her. She's already involved. She thinks he was working. He was trying to keep peace in his own home by lying to his wife about helping his mother leave her husband. You don't have to make it sound sordid. I don't have to make it sound like anything." She picked up the grocery bag and folded it into a small square, flattening every wrinkle with her thumbnail. "Are you going to tell her?" she asked. "No. Then why are we arguing?" "Because if Caleb learned one thing from me, I'd like it to be that telling the truth late is still better than letting somebody discover it." Laura stopped folding. "That sounded rehearsed," she said quietly. It wasn't. "No, I suppose not." I called Caleb after dinner. Laura had gone upstairs to pack, though she called it sorting. I stood on the back porch while the phone rang. He answered with a careful hello. "You need to tell Julia," I said. He was quiet. "Are you there?" "Yes." "Does she still think you were working those Saturdays?" "I'm going to tell her." "When?" "Dad, it's a day." I'm asking for a day. I said I'll handle it. Your mother said the same thing. That's cheap. It was. He breathed into the phone. I could picture him pacing their living room, stepping around the coffee table he had built from a plan, and then hated because one leg was slightly off. I'm sorry, I said. That silenced him more effectively than the insult had. I shouldn't have said it, I continued. But you need to tell her, I know. Before Sunday. What's Sunday? Dinner. Another pause. We're still doing dinner? The question irritated me, because I had been about to ask myself the same thing. Do you want to? I don't know. That makes two of us. Mom said it might help if we kept things normal. Your mother has strong opinions about normal, Dad. Come to dinner. Bring Julia. Tell her first. You're giving me a deadline? I'm telling you, I won't sit at my table and help you lie to your wife. He lowered his voice. You wouldn't say anything in front of her? No, I said, I wouldn't. That's why you will. I ended the call before we could damage anything else. Sunday arrived with the kind of beautiful weather that seemed personally insulting. I bought a roast because that was what I always made, then stood in the meat department wondering whether routine was dignity or cowardice. A woman beside me squeezed 3 packages of ground beef and chose the first one. I bought the roast. Laura set the table without asking. She used the good napkins and put fresh flowers in the blue pitcher. Every few minutes, one of us stepped around the other in the kitchen and apologized with unnecessary formality. At 5:20, Caleb texted that they were running late. At 5:40, Julia walked in carrying a bakery box and kissed my cheek. She was a compact woman with curly brown hair and a direct way of looking at people that had always made me trust her. She held the box toward me. Lemon cake, she said. Caleb said chocolate, but Caleb is wrong about many things. Caleb came in behind her carrying a bottle of wine. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Julia handed her coat to Laura, then looked around the dining room. The folded moving boxes had disappeared from the kitchen, but one was visible at the top of the stairs. So, she said, I guess we should talk about the enormous box in the hallway. Caleb set the wine down. Laura looked at him. You told her? He told me you're getting the apartment, Julia said. Something in her tone made Laura cautious. I'm sorry you had to hear it suddenly. Oh, it wasn't sudden. Caleb closed his eyes. Julia turned to me. Tom, I owe you an apology. You don't. I do. I kept telling him not to work so much. Apparently he wasn't. Julia, Caleb said. She looked at him. Am I misstating the facts? We talked about this. No. You talked for 20 minutes. I asked questions you didn't answer. Laura stepped closer. He was trying to support me. I understand that. Then please don't blame him. Julia's expression changed. It wasn't anger exactly. It was the look of someone who had just found the loose thread and was deciding whether to pull. I'm not blaming him for supporting you, she said. I'm blaming him for looking me in the face and inventing client emergencies. Caleb put both hands on the back of a chair. Can we not do this in front of everybody? Julia gave a small, disbelieving laugh. I knew that sentence. I had lived inside that sentence. The food's getting cold, Laura said. Nobody moved. I took the roast from the oven, set it on the stove, and removed the thermometer. It read exactly 145 degrees. Perfect. For the first time in my life, I had no idea what to do with that. I covered the roast with foil and told everyone to sit down. Nobody did. Julia still held her purse. Caleb's fingers had gone white around the chair. Laura stood near the stairs with Julia's coat in her arms, as if she had forgotten what coats were for. Dinner, I said. We can ruin it while we eat. Julia looked at me. You don't have to feed us. I've already fed you. It's just temporarily in the oven. That got the smallest smile out of her. She put her purse on the floor and sat. Caleb took the chair beside her, leaving more space between them than the chair required. Laura hung up the coat and brought the flowers to the table. I sliced the roast. The knife went through it beautifully. I had seasoned it with rosemary, garlic, and the expensive mustard Laura bought in a little glass jar, and then complained nobody used. I should have burned it. At least then we could have agreed on something. For the first few minutes, silverware did most of the talking. Julia finally looked at Laura. When did you sign the lease? 3 weeks ago. And Caleb knew then? Yes. He knew before. Caleb set down his fork. She talked to me before. That's different from knowing she was definitely moving. How long before? He glanced at me. Julia followed the glance. Why are you looking at your father? I'm not. You are literally looking at him. 8 months, I said. Caleb's head snapped toward me. Julia stopped chewing. Laura put down her napkin. Tom? She asked. She asked Caleb. Fine, Julia said. Caleb? He stared at his plate. About 8 months, Julia nodded slowly. 8 months? It wasn't every day. Oh, good. It was a few conversations. How many is a few? I don't know. You know how many fake Saturdays there were? 2. 3, I said. Caleb closed his eyes. Dad, please. The apartment tour, the lease, and the movers. The lease and movers were the same day. That doesn't make Saturday 25 hours long. Julia pushed her plate away. Laura leaned toward her. I asked him for confidence. I put him in an unfair position. You did, Julia said. I was lonely and confused. I understand. I don't think you do. Julia's eyebrows went up. I understand enough to know that asking someone to lie to his wife is not confidence. It's recruitment. Laura drew back. I never asked him to lie to you. You just asked him to disappear for hours and explain it however he wanted. I assumed he would tell you he was helping me. Caleb looked at her. No, you didn't. Laura's face changed. You asked me not to tell anyone, he said. You said if Julia knew, she might feel like she had to say something to Dad, because she cares about him. So, you did ask me to keep it from her. I asked for privacy. Julia gave a short laugh. You keep using nicer words for the same thing. Julia, I said. She turned to me. This is between you and Caleb. It stopped being between us when I know, but Laura and I already broke our own thing. Don't use our table to break yours. The room went quiet. Caleb looked at me with something close to gratitude, which I didn't want. Julia pulled her plate back toward her. Fair. Laura stared down at her napkin. I passed the potatoes. Nobody wanted them, so I took more. We made it through the rest of dinner without raising our voices. That sounds like a success until you have eaten 40 silent minutes with people who know exactly where to hurt one another. Julia asked whether the green beans had almonds. Laura said they did. Caleb complimented the roast twice. I told him I had heard him the first time. When I brought out the lemon cake, Julia apologized for choosing dessert that had emotional acidity. It was such a strange phrase that I laughed. Caleb laughed too. Laura did not. After dinner, Caleb started clearing plates. I told him to leave them, so he cleared them faster. Julia carried the flowers to the counter because she said the scent was competing with the cake. Laura stood at the sink wrapping leftovers no one had asked to take. The 4 of us moved around one another with the stiff coordination of people cleaning up after a funeral. Caleb took the trash outside. Laura went upstairs to get a storage container for the cake. Julia stayed beside the dishwasher, turning her wedding ring with her thumb. I really am sorry, she said. You didn't know. I should have. That's not how not knowing works. She looked toward the back door. He's been weird for months. Caleb's been weird since 1993. I'm serious. So am I. She smiled, but it didn't last. I thought it was work. Then I thought maybe he was tired of me. He isn't. You don't know that. No, I don't. She studied me. I could see why Caleb found it hard to lie to her. She didn't feel silence just because it was uncomfortable. I'm angry for you, she said. Be careful with that. Why? Because you've got enough reasons to be angry for yourself. Her eyes softened. Does that mean you're okay? No. It felt unnatural saying it. The word came out too quickly, like I had dropped something hot. Julia waited. I'm not okay, I said again, but don't turn me into evidence in your marriage. Talk about what he did to you. The back door opened. Caleb came in carrying the empty trash can because he had apparently decided it needed washing. Julia looked at him. Can we go home? He nodded. Laura came down with a container. I was going to send cake. Keep it, Julia said. It's very good. They left separately, Julia in her car and Caleb in his truck. He stood in the driveway for a few seconds after her taillights disappeared, then looked back at the house. I was at the window. He saw me, lifted one hand, and drove away. Laura came up beside me. You enjoyed that, she said. I turned from the window. What? Watching Caleb be confronted. No. You corrected him every chance you got. He lied. And now his marriage is suffering, and you get to feel vindicated. The accusation was ugly because it wasn't entirely false. There had been a moment when Julia called it recruitment, and I felt the pleasure of someone else naming my injury correctly. I didn't want them to fight, I said. You invited them to dinner knowing she was angry. I told him to tell her before he came. You could have canceled, so could you. She folded her arms. This is exactly why I didn't tell you sooner. Because consequences make you uncomfortable. Because you keep your hands clean and still make everyone bleed. I stared at her. She flinched as if she wanted the sentence back. That came out wrong. No, it didn't. Tom, I'm going to wash the dishes. She followed me into the kitchen. Please don't retreat into the sink. They're dirty. They can wait. For what? For us to finish. You told me we were finished Thursday. Her face tightened. I mean this conversation. I don't know what conversation we're having. You say I don't react. Then I react and you say, I enjoyed it. Correcting facts isn't reacting. What would reacting look like? I don't know. Yes, you do. She looked away. You wanted me to stop you, I said. Her eyes came back to mine. There it was, sudden and bare. Not admission, not denial, just fear. I wanted you to care, she said. I do care. You're letting me go. You signed a lease. You could ask me not to. Would you stay? She opened her mouth, I waited. The dishwasher hummed behind us, still half empty because Caleb had loaded the plates wrong and I hadn't fixed them. Finally, she said, No. Then you don't want me to ask. You want me to lose. She stepped back. That's not fair, I know. I went upstairs before she could tell me how quiet I had become. Over the next few days, the house filled with cardboard. Laura packed in short, determined bursts, then disappeared into the guest room with the door closed. She took books from the shelves, but left gaps instead of emptying one section, so every row looked like a mouth with missing teeth. Small decisions became negotiations. She wanted the blue armchair because it fit by the apartment window. I reminded her that one leg was loose. She said she knew. I almost offered to repair it, caught myself, and hated that restraint felt like cruelty. She took the yellow mixing bowls but left the red one because it had a chip. She packed 7 wine glasses and left 5. Neither of us knew how we had acquired 12. On Wednesday, I found her sitting on the bedroom floor surrounded by shoes. Do I have too many? She asked. It was such an ordinary question that I nearly answered the way I always had. You have exactly too many, I said. She laughed. Then her face crumpled. I stood in the doorway while she covered her eyes with both hands. Every instinct told me to kneel beside her. Every fresh memory told me not to mistake being needed for being wanted. After a while, she wiped her face. I'm sorry, she said. For the shoes? For doing this in front of you. It's still your bedroom. She looked around at the open boxes. Not for long. I left before kindness turned into another chore. Friday evening, the night before the move, Laura taped the final box shut in the dining room. The wedding photograph still hung above her, crooked. Caleb will be here at 7, she said. I won't. Her hand stopped on the tape dispenser. Won't what? Be here. The movers come at 8. I remember the date. Where are you going? Frank's. She stared at me. For the whole day? Yes. What if there are questions? Answer them. What if they need tools? Movers own tools. The bed frame has those recessed bolts. Caleb watched me assemble it. He was 20. He's had 13 years to think about it. She put down the tape. You're really going to leave me here to do this alone? No, I said. You made sure of that. That isn't fair, she said. No. You keep agreeing with me, like that makes it better. It keeps us from arguing about whether it's fair. You know what I mean? I know you expected me to stand in the driveway and supervise my replacement. Replacement by what? An apartment? By Caleb. Her expression hardened. He is not replacing you. He found the place. He measured the walls. He booked the elevator. Now he gets to dismantle the bed. He's helping his mother, and I'm letting him. She picked up the tape dispenser again and dragged another strip across a box that was already sealed. You're punishing him, she said. I'm giving him the job he accepted. The tape tore with a sharp scrape. You really can't see how frightening it was to tell you, she said. No. I can see exactly how frightening it was. That's why you should have done it before you made me unnecessary. She pressed the tape flat with both palms. I never said you were unnecessary. You wrote me a list of tasks for moving you out. Necessary isn't the same as wanted. She stared down at the box. I waited for her to say something. She didn't. At 6 the next morning, I dressed in the dark and carried my overnight bag downstairs. I had no intention of staying overnight at Frank's, but I didn't want Laura deciding when I came home. She was already in the kitchen. Her hair was tied back, and she wore an old sweatshirt from a charity walk we had done 15 years earlier. 2 mugs sat on the counter. "I made coffee," she said. "I see that. Yours is black. It usually is." I picked up the mug. It was the heavy brown one I used on workdays. Hers was the gardener mug from the night she told me. For some reason, seeing it again made my chest tighten. She glanced at my bag. "You're spending the night?" "I don't know." Frank doesn't have sheets on his guest bed. He owns sheets. He keeps them in a plastic tub in the basement. "You know a surprising amount about Frank's sheets," he told me after Thanksgiving. "That sounds like him." She looked almost relieved that I had made a joke. Then a truck rumbled somewhere on the next street, and her hand tightened around her mug. "The movers aren't due until 8, she said. "Probably somebody else moving, maybe." I drank the coffee. It was stronger than I made it. "Did you pack the medicine from the upstairs bathroom?" I asked. "Yes. The blue armchair leg needs tightening before anyone sits in it. I'll tell them. The hardware is underneath the dust cover. Don't let them set it on the loose side." She looked at me over the rim of her mug. "Thank you." I set mine in the sink. When I reached the front door, she said my name. I turned. She stood in the kitchen with the coffee held against her chest. For a second, I thought she might ask me to stay. I didn't know what I would have done if she had. "Do you want to say goodbye?" she asked. "You're moving 20 minutes away." That wasn't what I meant. I know. Neither of us crossed the room. Finally, she nodded. "Drive safely." I left. Frank was standing in his driveway when I arrived at 6:40, wearing plaid pajama pants and spraying mud off a pressure washer he had claimed nobody wanted. "You brought luggage," he said. I brought a bag. "Planning to move in?" "No." "Good. I'd need references." He looked past me at the truck, as if Laura might be crouched in the back seat. "You eat?" he asked. "I'm not hungry." That wasn't the question. Inside, Frank's kitchen smelled like bacon and burnt coffee. He had made enough scrambled eggs for 6 people and somehow dirtied every pan he owned. We ate at the counter. Frank did not ask about Laura until I had finished the eggs and half the bacon. "What time are the movers there?" 8. He checked the clock on the microwave. It read 3:17. "That thing's been wrong since April," he said when he saw me looking. "Unplug it and set it. It still heats food. That isn't the same function. See, this is why she left you." The words came out before either of us could stop them. Frank froze with a fork halfway to his mouth. That was bad. "Yes. I'm sorry. I know. I was trying to make you laugh. I know that too." He set down the fork. "You want me to hate her?" "No." "You want me to hate Caleb?" "No." "Can I hate the movers?" "I don't know them. Best kind of people to hate." My phone buzzed on the counter. Caleb had texted, "Do you know where the socket attachment is for the bed bolts?" Frank leaned far enough to read the screen. "Tell him hardware store," he said. "It's in the second drawer of my red toolbox." "Then tell him hardware store anyway." I typed the answer and put the phone face down. Frank watched me. "You could have taken the toolbox. Why would I do that? To be petty. I'm not trying to stop her from leaving." "No. You're trying to make sure she leaves efficiently." "I came here. You labeled the toolbox drawers. They were already labeled. Of course they were." We spent the morning in his backyard replacing 2 warped boards on his fence. Frank insisted they did not need replacing, though he had already bought the lumber. I measured twice. He deliberately asked whether I wanted to measure a 3rd time. I told him I wanted him to hold the board straight. At 9:15, my phone rang. Laura. I let it ring 4 times before answering. What happened? There was noise behind her, footsteps, male voices, the rip of tape. "Nothing happened," she said. "The movers are asking about the dresser." "What about it?" "They think the mirror needs to come off." "It does." "They can't find the release clips. They're behind the upper brackets." We looked. "Then you didn't look behind the upper brackets." Frank rolled his eyes so hard his entire head moved. Laura lowered her voice. "Could you please just tell Caleb, put him on?" A few seconds later, Caleb said, "Hey, the clips are brass. Flathead screwdriver, quarter turn counterclockwise." I tried that. "You tried the screws, the clips are behind them." Silence, then, "Oh, support the mirror before you turn the second one." Got it. I could hear Laura asking something in the background. "Dad," Caleb said, "are you coming back later?" "Yes, what time?" "When they're finished." He exhaled. "Okay. Keep the screws in a bag. Tape it inside the top drawer." "I know." "Then why did you call?" "I didn't." That was true. I hung up. Frank handed me the drill. You enjoyed that? No. Liar. I enjoyed being right about the clips. That's your version of enjoying things. Around noon, Julia arrived at Frank's carrying a paper sack. I stared at her through the screen door. How do you know where he lives? She lifted the sack. Caleb gave me the address. Frank opened the door. Did you bring food? Sandwiches. You can stay. She stepped inside and looked at me. I thought you might forget lunch. I'm with Frank. He'd deep fry a belt before he skipped lunch. Depends on the belt, Frank said. I took the sack from her. Why aren't you helping at the house? I did for a while. How is it? Awkward? That wasn't what I meant. I know. She had helped carry boxes down from the guest room and wrapped Laura's dishes after one of the movers dropped a roll of paper. Caleb had removed the dresser mirror. The blue chair made it onto the truck without losing its leg. Your dining table is staying, she said. I know. Laura thought the movers had room, but then she changed her mind. Why? Julia hesitated. I think she realized there wouldn't be anywhere to put it. Frank handed her a beer. She checked the label, saw it was non-alcoholic, and gave him an approving nod. How are you and Caleb? I asked. Not fixed by hauling boxes. I didn't ask if you were fixed. We're talking. That's good. It's loud. That can be good too. She looked at me. You really believe that? I'm starting to. Julia left after lunch. She said she was going home, not back to the apartment. I didn't ask whether Caleb knew. At 4:30, he texted that the truck was gone. I stayed at Frank's until after 6. When I pulled into my driveway, a pale patch of oil marked the place where the moving truck had been. The porch light I had replaced was already on. I unlocked the front door. The house didn't look empty at first. It looked rearranged. Then I noticed the spaces. The blue armchair was gone from the living room, leaving 4 dents in the carpet. Gaps ran through the bookshelves. The dining room wall was bare, except for a pale rectangle where the wedding picture had hung. The picture itself lay face down on the table. Upstairs, the dresser was gone. One of the lamps remained on my side of the bed. The other side had no table at all. Laura's clothes were gone from the closet, but she had left the straw hat on the shelf. In the bathroom, her toothbrush cup was missing. A damp ring marked the counter. I found one gardening glove beneath the radiator, a yellow mixing bowl she must have changed her mind about, and the gardener mug beside the sink. A note rested against it. Tom, I hope someday you understand that I wasn't leaving because you meant nothing to me. I was leaving because I stopped knowing whether I meant anything to you. I am sorry for how I did this. I don't know how to be sorry for needing to. Laura, I read it twice. Then I turned the wedding photograph face up. The two of us smiled from a day when neither knew how expertly we would learn to disappear while standing next to each other. My phone rang in the silent kitchen. Laura. I watched her name glow until the ringing stopped. Then I filled the gardener mug with water, carried it upstairs, and set it beside the one lamp she had left me. I lay down without changing clothes. The water in the mug caught the light from the remaining lamp. Every time I turned my head, I saw World's Okayest Gardener in cheerful green letters. At some point during the night, I moved it to the floor. I slept for 43 minutes. I knew because the bedside clock said 11:18 when I closed my eyes and 12:01 when I opened them. The empty side of the room had its own sound. The heating vent seemed louder without the dresser. The blinds tapped the window because the rubber bumper had come loose. Laura had complained about it twice. I had added it to a list in my head and forgotten. I got up, found a felt pad in the junk drawer, and fixed it. At 1:30, I went downstairs and ate a piece of lemon cake over the sink. Julia had left the remaining half after dinner. The icing had hardened around the edges. Laura's note was still on the counter. I folded it twice and put it in the drawer with the paint samples. New Beginning peeked out beneath a takeout menu, so I flipped it face down. My phone showed 2 missed calls and a voicemail. I listened. Hi, it's me. Laura paused long enough that I could hear an elevator bell behind her. I just wanted to make sure you got home. I know you saw the note. Or I assume you did. The movers left a small scratch near the stairs. Caleb said he can fix it, but I thought you should know. That's all. Good night. She had called at 6:49. I had been standing in the dining room looking at the wedding photograph. I typed, I'm home. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Did you read my note? I set the phone down without answering. When I woke again, sunlight was coming through the kitchen window. I had fallen asleep in the living room chair with the television on mute. A man in a red tie was enthusiastically selling knives. The front lock turned. Laura stepped inside carrying her purse and an empty canvas bag. She froze when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I forgot some things. You still have a key." Her fingers tightened around it. "Of course I have a key. You don't live here. This is still my house, too." I didn't say it wasn't. I said you don't live here. She closed the door behind her. I texted. I found my phone beneath the blanket. There was a message from 712. "Coming by in the morning for the rest of my bathroom things and the gardening tools." "You sent that 20 minutes ago. I didn't know you would be sleeping. I wasn't expecting someone to unlock the door." She looked around the living room as though she had entered the wrong house. "I didn't think I needed an appointment. You do now. Do you want the key? I want you to knock." The answer seemed to confuse her. She had prepared to accuse me of locking her out. I had denied her the scene. "All right," she said. "I'll knock." She headed upstairs. I followed as far as the landing. "What bathroom things?" "My hairdryer, the magnifying mirror, and the basket under the sink." "You took the hairdryer. I took the travel one." "There are two?" "There have always been two." That explained why one of them had a handle that folded. She went into the bathroom and started opening cabinets. I returned to the bedroom, picked up the gardener mug, and carried it downstairs. Laura came down 10 minutes later with a full canvas bag and the magnifying mirror tucked under her arm. "You put water in that," she said. "It's a mug. I thought you hated it." "I never said I hated it. You refuse to drink from it. It says gardener. You grow tomatoes. I water tomatoes you plant." She set the mirror on the table. "The other glove is at the apartment." I looked toward the radiator, where I had left the single glove after finding it. "Take this one. I was planning to." "I'm not holding the glove hostage. I didn't say you were. You looked at the mug like I was." She closed her eyes. "I can't do this all morning. What are we doing? I came for my things." "The gardening tools are in the shed. I know where they are." She went through the back door. I heard the shed latch, then metal clanging as she tried to pull the long-handled tools out all at once. I made coffee. I put hers in the gardener mug before remembering there was no reason to make hers. When she returned carrying a shovel, rake, hand cultivator, pruning shears, and one bent tomato cage, she found both mugs on the counter. Her expression softened. "Is that for me?" It was habit. She set the tools against the wall and took the mug anyway. We stood in the kitchen drinking coffee. She looked tired. There were faint red marks on her forearms from carrying boxes. "How was the first night?" I asked. "The refrigerator makes a knocking sound. Water line. There's no ice maker." "Then it isn't the water line." She almost smiled. "The bedroom gets more streetlight than I expected. You can get blackout curtains." "I know. Measure before you buy them." "I know how to buy curtains, Tom." "I didn't say you didn't." She ran her thumb over the mug's handle. "The balcony door really does stick." "Call the office." "I did. They said Tuesday. Then they'll fix it Tuesday. It might just need the rollers adjusted." "Probably. You could look at it." "No." She stared at me. I took a drink of coffee. "That's it?" she asked. "You have an appointment Tuesday. I thought you might want to see the place." "Why?" "Because it's where I live. That's why I don't want to see it." Her face went still. "You don't have to be cruel. I'm trying very hard not to be." She left the coffee unfinished. I carried the tools to her car because watching her drag a shovel through the hallway would have been ridiculous. I put them in the trunk, wrapped the pruning shears in an old towel, and wedged the rake so it wouldn't strike the rear window when she stopped. "Thank you," she said. "This doesn't mean I'm coming to fix the door." "I understood you." "Good." She got behind the wheel, then rolled down the window. "You still haven't answered about the note." I read it. "That isn't what I asked. It's what I can answer." I stepped back from the car. She drove away with the rake handle trembling above the back seat. On Monday, Caleb called while I was eating lunch at my desk. "There's water under our washing machine," he said. "Turn off the valves." I did. "Dry the floor." I did that too. "Then call a plumber." A pause. "You said you'd look at it." Before Thursday, I had promised to stop by after work. Caleb's laundry room had a slow leak that appeared only during the rinse cycle, which usually meant a hose or a loose pump connection. "I forgot," I said. "Can you come tonight?" "No." "Why not? I have plans." That was technically true. I planned to go home. With who? That's none of your business. Dad, this isn't about Mom. You called a grown man at lunch to ask him to fix your washing machine. Because you said you would. And now I'm saying I won't. He lowered his voice. So, you are punishing me. Maybe. The honesty surprised both of us. He didn't speak for a moment. I looked through the glass wall of my office at people carrying folders and coffee cups down the hallway. Nobody knew my wife had left. I had worn the same blue shirt I wore every Monday and answered every question put to me. Call a plumber, I said. It might be something simple, then it'll be a cheap plumber. Mom called me 3 times yesterday. About what? The bookcase, the dresser mirror, and her internet. Those sound like 3 different things. She doesn't know how to connect the router. She knows. She just doesn't believe she knows. She was upset. I'm sorry. You keep saying that, but you're not helping. Something in me went very still. She has building maintenance, I said. She has instructions for the router. She has you because she arranged this with you. What exactly do you want from me? I want you to stop acting like everybody's your enemy. I don't think you're my enemy. It feels like it. It felt like you were my son when you lied to me. Feelings can be inaccurate. That's a nice line. It wasn't meant to be. He made a sound halfway between a sigh and a laugh. You know, Julia isn't talking to me unless it's about groceries or bills. I'm sorry. There it is again. What do you want me to do about your marriage? Nothing. That's the correct answer. You're enjoying this. Your mother said the same thing. Maybe 2 people can be right. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone long after the call ended. At home that evening, I made 1 pork chop and too much rice. I kept reaching for a second plate. The kitchen felt staged, as if someone had removed Laura's props but left mine in place. I took the meal to the dining table. The wedding photograph was still there, face up now. I moved it to the sideboard so I wouldn't have to watch us smile while I ate. Halfway through dinner, someone knocked. Caleb stood on the porch with a damp cardboard box under one arm. What's that? I asked. The old washer hose. You took the machine apart? I watched a video. Did you unplug it? Yes. Before or after the video? He held up the hose. A split ran near one connector. You were right, he said. It was simple. Good. I flooded half the laundry room getting it off. You didn't drain the machine. The video skipped that part. The water had to go somewhere. So did Mom. I looked at him. He looked ashamed, but angry enough to keep going. She called again, he said. The maintenance guy didn't come. It's Monday. She got the day wrong. That happens. She wanted me to leave work and meet him. Did you? No. Good. His expression sharpened. You don't get to be proud of me for saying no when you're the reason I have to. I'm not the reason. You left her with everything. She chose everything. She didn't choose the refrigerator knocking or the door sticking or being alone in a place where she doesn't know anybody. Then why did she leave? That's what I'm asking you. I stepped onto the porch and pulled the door closed behind me. Caleb shifted the wet box against his hip. Water had soaked through one corner and darkened his shirt. You think I made this happen? I asked. I think you're making sure it hurts. I didn't choose the apartment. You chose not to show up. You both built a plan where I was the last person needed. Now you're angry because I believed you. He looked away toward the driveway. I can't be her husband for you, I said, and I can't be your father the way I was before Thursday. Not yet. His eyes came back to mine. What does that mean? I don't know. That's not good enough. It has to be. He set the damp box on the porch. You taught me the family shows up. Yes, and now? Now I'm learning there should be a difference between showing up and being used. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he nudged the box toward my foot. You can throw that away, he said. You're good at handling things. He walked to his truck. I let the broken hose sit on the porch until morning. I tripped over it on my way to work. The cardboard had sagged overnight, and the hose rolled across the porch like a dead snake. I picked it up, carried it to the garage, and dropped it in the trash can. Then I took it back out. The brass connector was still good. I cut off the split section, put the connector in the coffee tin where I kept spare fittings, and threw away the rest. It was the kind of thing I had done my entire adult life. Save the part that still worked. Discard only what couldn't be repaired. At work, I found 3 voicemails waiting on my office phone. 2 were ordinary. The third was from Marianne, Laura's younger sister. Tom, call me. It's not an emergency. I have to say that because you always assume it's an emergency when someone calls before 9. It's about Thursday. I called her during lunch. Are you still taking me? She asked, without saying hello. Taking you where? My eye appointment. I had promised 2 months earlier to drive her to an outpatient procedure because the clinic wouldn't let her leave alone afterward. Laura was supposed to come too. I had written the appointment on the wall calendar in the kitchen, beneath the date the movers later occupied. Yes, I said. Marianne went quiet. What? I wasn't sure. Why? Given everything? Your eye didn't improve because Laura moved. It's not my eye. It's the skin above it. You said they were cutting your eyelid. That counts as an eye appointment. It's a blocked gland. I'm glad we cleared that up. She laughed. Laura said you might not want to. Laura doesn't manage my appointments anymore. I didn't say she did. You didn't have to. Marianne sighed. The clinic wants me there at 10. They said I might be groggy. I'll pick you up at 9:15. You don't have to wait. How are you getting home? I could call Laura. Then why am I taking you? Because she has a dental cleaning at 11. She could move it. So could you. I leaned back in my chair. Do you want me to drive you or not? Yes. Then I'll be there at 9:15. You're still exactly yourself, aren't you? I don't know what that means. You and Laura really did find each other. She hung up before I could answer. On Thursday morning, Marianne came out of her townhouse wearing oversized sunglasses even though the sky was cloudy. She was 58, 4 years younger than Laura, with the same narrow chin and none of Laura's patience. Her husband, Vince, had left for a sales conference the day before. He had offered to cancel. Marianne told him she would divorce him if he stayed home to watch someone poke her eyelid. She got into my truck and buckled her seatbelt. You look terrible, she said. Thank you. Are you sleeping? Yes. More than an hour at a time? Sometimes it's 43 minutes. She took a pack of gum from her purse. Laura isn't sleeping either. Did she ask you to tell me that? No. Then why did you? Because you asked if I was going to talk about her. I did not. You did with your entire face. I pulled away from the curb. For 5 minutes, Marianne talked about Vince's inability to pack matching socks. I listened and made the appropriate sounds. At the first traffic light, she lowered her sunglasses. She shouldn't have used Caleb, she said. I kept my eyes on the road. No, I understand why she did. I assumed you would. That doesn't mean I approve. Good to know. She talked to me, too. That made me look at her. The car behind us honked. The light had turned green. How long? I asked as I accelerated. Long enough? Everybody in this family measures time differently. She told me she was unhappy. She didn't tell me about the lease until after she signed it. So Caleb got promoted. Don't make me defend him. I didn't. He was scared. Of me, of what would happen. He helped make what happened. Marianne chewed her gum and watched the strip malls pass. You weren't easy to talk to. Apparently I was impossible to talk to. Everyone chose each other instead. That isn't what I said. It's what happened. She turned toward me. You want me to tell you she was wrong? She was wrong. Yes. The answer came so quickly that I glanced at her again. She was wrong, Marianne repeated. She should have told you before she signed anything. Caleb should have refused to participate. You should have noticed your wife had been disappearing in front of you for years. All three things can be true without canceling one another. You've been rehearsing that since 6 this morning. It shows. You're welcome. At the clinic, the receptionist handed me a clipboard. Marianne took it away from me. I can fill out my own forms. I was holding it. You were already looking for a pen. There's one attached. You look disappointed. I waited in a room full of soft chairs and magazines about retirement destinations. 40 minutes later, a nurse led Marianne out with a square bandage over one eye. The oversized sunglasses went back on top of it, giving her the appearance of a confused insect. I'm fine, she announced. The nurse looked at me. She's had a sedative. I'm excellent, Marianne corrected. In the truck, she tried to adjust the air vent and missed it twice. Laura says you won't fix her balcony door, she said. The building fixed it Tuesday. Oh, she told you before Tuesday. Possibly. Did she mention the bookcase? Yes. The internet? She said Caleb was overwhelmed. I tightened my hands on the steering wheel. Marianne noticed. Sedated or not, she had always noticed the things Laura wanted me to say. She's reaching for what she knows, she said. She wanted independence. She wanted a different life. That doesn't mean she woke up knowing how to live it. I didn't wake up knowing how to live mine. No. But you know how to reset a router. I laughed despite myself. She leaned her head against the window. You're a good man, Tom. That sounded like bad news. You're also hard to live with. There it is. Laura could spend 20 minutes telling you she was drowning, and you'd build her a dock. A dock would help. Not if she wanted you in the water. I can't swim for both of us. No, Marianne said, closing her visible eye. And she can be brave and cruel at the same time. We drove the rest of the way in silence. At her townhouse, I walked her inside, set a glass of water on the coffee table, and put the clinic instructions beside it. Vince had arranged crackers, tissues, pain reliever, and 3 remote controls in a straight line. He loves me like I'm weather, Marianne said, looking at the supplies. What does that mean? He prepares. He's in sales. That's not an answer. It's the one I have. She caught my sleeve before I left. Don't make everyone prove they can survive without you, she said. I'm not. You might be. I drove you here. That's why I'm telling you. When I arrived home, Laura's car was in the driveway. She was standing on the porch with a stack of envelopes under one arm. She had knocked. I unlocked the door and stepped aside. I came for my mail, she said. I can forward it. I already submitted the change. Then this must be the exciting transitional batch. There was a grocery flyer, a credit card offer, 2 catalogs, and an envelope from the dentist. She sorted them at the kitchen table. I talked to Marianne, I said. I know. She was sedated. She called me. That tracks. Laura put the grocery flyer in the recycling. Her gaze moved to the gardener mug drying beside the sink. You're using it. It holds coffee. You had 30 other mugs. 29. You took 6. I didn't take 6. You took the matching white set. That was 4. Then 27. She smiled before she remembered not to. I leaned against the counter. How is the apartment? The door is fixed, I heard. Marianne, your block gland is very well informed. The maintenance man adjusted the lower roller. It took him 15 minutes. You said it would take me 10. He spent 5 minutes looking for parking. We stood there inside an almost normal conversation until she picked up the envelope from the dentist. Caleb isn't answering my calls, she said. He's working. He usually calls back. Maybe he's busy. He thinks I caused trouble between him and Julia. You did, so did you. I didn't ask him to lie. You gave him a deadline and forced everything into the open when he was already under pressure. He told his wife the truth, because he was afraid you would tell her at dinner. I told him I wouldn't, but he didn't believe you. That doesn't make me responsible for what he did. She set the mail down. You're very interested in clean lines now. I can finally see them. I asked my son for help. You asked him to become the part of your marriage that talked back. Her face went pale. I hadn't known I was going to say it. Once it was in the room, neither of us could move around it. He listened to me, she said. I should have listened to you. The answer surprised her. I forced myself to keep going. I should have asked more questions. I should have stopped fixing things long enough to hear why you kept asking. But you didn't make Caleb a listener. You made him a witness against me. I never spoke against you. You told him enough that he thought I deserved to be the last to know. She looked toward the pale rectangle in the dining room. Have you read the note again? She asked. No. Why not? Because it asked me to understand you while you're still explaining me to everyone else. I'm trying to explain myself. Then explain yourself to me. I tried. No. You announced the result. She picked up her mail. Would you come to the apartment if I asked you just to talk? No tools, no Caleb, no. I looked at her and pictured the blue chair beside a bright window, the dresser I had repaired. New beginning, drawing on walls I had never seen. Not yet, I said. She nodded as if she had expected no, and still felt it land. At 9 that night, someone knocked again. Caleb stood on the porch holding a duffel bag. Julia asked me to leave for a few days, he said. I looked at the bag, then at him. Did you tell your mother? No. Why not? Because I'm tired of telling one parent things the other one doesn't know. It was the first sensible thing he had said in a week. I opened the door wider. The guest room doesn't have any boxes in it now, I said. That's supposed to be funny? A little. He came inside. Before I closed the door, he picked up the cardboard box he had left on the porch. You didn't throw it away? I saved the connector. He stared at me. Then he started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because for one night, there was nothing else left for either of us to do. The laughter wore itself out in the hallway. Caleb wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. You really saved part of a broken washer hose. The fitting is fine. It costs $4. $4 is $4. You sound like Grandpa. That's an ugly thing to say in my house. He laughed again, softer this time. I found sheets in the upstairs linen closet and handed them to him. He looked past me into the guest room. Laura's boxes had left pale squares in the dust beneath the window. Mom slept in here? He asked. One night. Was that before she moved? No, she comes back after midnight to keep the room warm. He gave me a tired look. I don't know when you're joking anymore. That makes two of us. He set down the duffel and unfolded the sheets. He started with the fitted one, got two corners on, then pulled the wrong side and released the first two. You've made a living operating power tools, I said. A mattress doesn't have instructions. It does if you look at it. You want me to leave? No? Then stop supervising. I went downstairs. 10 minutes later, he appeared in the kitchen. Where are the pillows? On the bed. Those are decorative. They're filled with feathers. Use them. They have buttons. Turn the buttons away from your face. He opened the cabinet, took a glass, and filled it at the sink. Does Mom know I'm here? I asked. No. Are you going to tell her? He drank half the water. Do I have to? That's your decision. He lowered the glass. You gave me a deadline 4 days ago. I'm trying something new. What? Not managing your marriage. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't trust the answer yet. You can stay 3 nights, I said. After that, you need a plan. Julia said a few days. 3 is a few. What if she needs 4? Then you get a hotel. He looked around the kitchen. You have 3 empty bedrooms. I have 2 empty bedrooms and 1 room full of things your mother decided she didn't want. That room has a treadmill that she didn't want. He turned the glass between his hands. You're really angry. Yes, you don't look angry. What should I wear? I'm serious. So am I. He put the glass in the sink without rinsing it. Caleb, he stopped. Rinse it. He looked at the glass, then at me. 3 nights might be ambitious. The next morning, I woke to the smell of something burning. Caleb stood at the stove in his dress shirt and socks, scraping eggs from the stainless steel skillet. That pan isn't for eggs, I said. It's a pan. So is a roasting pan. You wouldn't fry an egg in that. Watch me. I took the skillet from him before he could prove it. The eggs had formed a thin yellow crust across the bottom. Use the black one. It has scratches. Those are seasoning marks. Mom said scratch non-stick pans cause cancer. It isn't non-stick. Caleb opened a window to release the smoke. That explains a lot. I made fresh eggs. He leaned against the counter, drinking coffee from the gardener mug. That's your mother's. You were using it yesterday. I was using it because she left it. She left me too. You using me? I slid the eggs onto his plate. 3 nights. He sat at the table. His hair was still damp from the shower, and he had missed a spot shaving beneath his jaw. Julia asked me a question, he said. I waited. She asked if I was unhappy with her. Would I tell her, or would I tell you? What did you say? Nothing. That's not ideal. I was mad. Still not ideal. She made it sound like I'm secretly building an escape plan. You built one for somebody. That isn't the same. Tell her why. He pushed the eggs around. I thought Mom needed somebody who wouldn't argue with her. That is why. She said she had tried to talk to you. She had. He looked up. So she wasn't lying. I never said she was. Then why do you act like she invented all of this? I don't. You act blindsided. I was blindsided by the move. I wasn't blind. He sat back. I poured more coffee and took the chair across from him. Your mother told me she was lonely, I said. She asked me to go places I didn't want to go. She asked me questions when I was tired, and I gave her answers that ended the conversation. She stopped asking. I noticed that too. Then, why didn't you do something? Because the house was quiet. Caleb stared at me. I grew up thinking quiet meant safe, I said. My father could turn burnt toast into a constitutional crisis. I decided I wouldn't be that man. Somewhere along the way, I decided not being him was the same as being a good husband. You were a good husband. You don't know that. I lived here. You ate here. Those aren't the same. He looked toward the dining room. The wedding picture rested on the sideboard, still face up. The first time Mom called me about leaving, he said, she wasn't crying. I waited. She was mad because of that pottery class. I remembered a folded brochure on the kitchen counter. 6 Thursday evenings at a studio downtown. Laura had circled the couple's class. I told her I didn't want to make bowls. You told her to ask Denise. Denise likes pottery. That wasn't the point. I know that now. Caleb rubbed his thumb against a stain on the tabletop. I told her she should talk to you. She said she had. She said you offered to build shelves for the laundry room. The shelves were still unfinished in the garage. What did you tell her after that, I asked? That maybe she should do something for herself. So she did. I didn't mean leave you. Did you ever tell her that? I thought she knew. I gave him a look. Yeah, he said. I hear it. He ate a few bites of egg. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. At first, because I thought she was just venting. Then she called again. And I'd already kept the first call from you. Every time it got more serious, telling you meant admitting how long I hadn't told you. That's not all of it. He put down his fork. I thought you'd make me choose, he said. Between us? Yes. Did I ever do that? No. Your mother? No. Then why? He looked at the window. Morning light had caught every fingerprint on the glass. Because you never choose anything out loud, he said. You just get quiet until everybody else feels guilty. That hurt because it had evidence behind it. When you and Mom disagreed, he continued, you'd go fix something. Then she'd complain to me about you, and I'd think she was unreasonable because you were out there helping. But sometimes I knew you were fixing things, so you wouldn't have to hear her. I shouldn't have left you with that. I wasn't asking for an apology. I know. You keep doing that. What? Saying the right thing after it can't cost you anything. The eggs cooled between us. You think this doesn't cost me? I asked. His face tightened. That's not what I meant. It's what you said. I stood and carried my coffee to the sink. My hand was shaking. I set the mug down before he could see. Behind me, Caleb said, Dad, I have to work. It's 7:30. Yes. You don't get traffic. I found some last week. He stayed at the house that night and the next. We did not have another large conversation. Large conversations were apparently exhausting enough to require 48 hours of weather reports, sports scores, and questions about whether the milk smelled wrong. He called Julia from the guest room with the door closed. I could hear his voice, but not the words. Once he raised it. A minute later, he lowered it without anyone telling him to. On his third evening, Laura called me. Is Caleb there? She asked. Yes. She went silent. He came Thursday, I said. I know when he came, Julia told me. Then why did you ask? I wanted to hear what you'd say. I'm getting tired of tests. You should have told me. He asked me not to. Her breath caught. So now you understand? No. You kept his confidence. I gave him 3 nights to handle his own life. I didn't help him find an apartment. That is a distinction without a difference. It's a distinction with several differences. You're turning him against me. He came here because his wife asked him to leave. Because of this. Because he lied. Because you forced him to confess on your schedule. I looked toward the ceiling. Caleb was upstairs packing his duffel. He was meeting Julia at a restaurant in an hour. Laura, he is not your substitute husband. The silence on the phone changed. I have never treated him that way. You call him for the door, the router, the bookcase, the refrigerator. I'm asking my son for help. You're asking him to fill every space I left. You didn't leave. No. You moved the spaces. She breathed in sharply. I closed my eyes. That was cruel. It was accurate. Both can be true. She made a small sound that might have been a laugh. Marianne got to you. She said the same thing about you. What? That you can be brave and cruel at once. I'm not brave. You moved. I ran. It was the first time she had said it that way. Before I could answer, Caleb came downstairs with his bag. I have to go, I said. Is he leaving? Yes. Tell him to call me. No. Tom, call him yourself. If he answers, listen to what he says. I ended the call. Caleb stood at the foot of the stairs. She knows, Julia told her. Of course she did. Don't start collecting offenses. You don't have room. He nodded toward my phone. What did Mom say? To call her. Anything else? She thinks I'm turning you against her. Are you? No. How do you know? Because I'm still angry with you. That got a weak smile. He picked up his keys from the table. What are you going to say to Julia? I asked. The truth. Which truth? That I was afraid of making Mom angry, and then I was afraid of making you angry, and somewhere in there, I stopped caring what lying would do to Julia. I nodded. And I'm going to tell her I don't know how to fix it, he added. Good. That's good. It's honest. He opened the door, then stopped. You know you did leave me with it, he said. With what? Mom's feelings. All those years. Every time you walked away, she looked for someone else in the room. I felt the instinct to defend myself rise like a hand. I let it drop. I know, I said. He studied my face, perhaps waiting for the sentence that would sand down the admission. I didn't give him one. After he left, I stripped the guest bed and found he had put all 4 corners of the fitted sheet on correctly. The glass beside the bed had been rinsed and placed upside down on a folded towel. At 11:30, my phone lit up with a message from Julia. He's home. We're talking. That's all I can promise. I typed 3 different replies and erased each one. Finally, I wrote, "That's enough for tonight." Then I carried the Gardner mug upstairs, set it beside the remaining lamp, and slept for almost 4 hours without waking. 4 hours was enough to make me dangerous. I woke before dawn, cleaned the refrigerator, sharpened 3 kitchen knives, and tightened every loose handle in the house. By 8, I had reorganized the garage shelves according to a system I couldn't explain without sounding unwell. The shelves I had promised Laura for the laundry room were still leaning unfinished against the wall. I measured them. Then I put the tape measure away. Sunday afternoon found me standing in the meat department again, looking at roasts sized for people who still expected company. I had not asked Caleb whether he and Julia were coming. He had not asked whether dinner was happening. I bought 2 pork chops instead. At 4:30, Caleb texted, "Julia and I are staying home tonight. Hope that's okay." I wrote, "Of course." Then I erased it because "of course" made it sound as if I had expected nothing else. I wrote, "That's fine. Tell Julia hello." He replied with a thumbs up, which seemed inadequate for everything, and exactly right for dinner. At 5, Frank knocked on the back door and came in carrying a paper bag. "You lock the front like you're hiding from the government," he said. I locked the front because doors have locks. He took 2 containers from the bag. "I brought Chinese. I have pork chops." "Do they have feelings?" "They're seasoned." "Put them back in the refrigerator." I did, though I resented how quickly. We ate orange chicken at the dining table. Frank kept glancing at the pale rectangle on the wall. "You going to hang something there?" he asked, eventually. "Put up a mirror. Make the room look bigger." "I don't need it bigger." "Then put up a smaller mirror. You've been inside 3 minutes, and I already want you to leave. This is why I bring my own food." He noticed the wedding photograph on the sideboard, but did not mention it. Frank's kindness usually arrived disguised as bad manners. After dinner, he wandered into the garage and found the unfinished shelves. "You making those for somebody?" "No. They have cut marks. I started them months ago. Then finished them. I don't need laundry room shelves. You need something to do besides alphabetize solvents. They're arranged by use." "Sure." He took a pencil from the workbench and spun it between his fingers. "You could build me a cabinet." "You don't need a cabinet. I have things. You have piles. Piles need homes." I looked at him. "You're inventing a project." "Yes." "Why?" "Because if I ask you to come to Trivia Thursday, you'll say you don't like trivia." "I don't." "And if I ask you to sit around my house, you'll repair the garbage disposal. It makes a noise. It has made that noise since 2017. We've reached an understanding." He put down the pencil. "Thursday, 7. The bar on Wilkins, I'll think about it." "That means no." "It means I'll think about it. It means you want credit for considering something you have already decided against." I stared at him. "What?" he said. "You sound like Laura." "Take it back." I laughed. He pointed at me. 7 o'clock. Laura called the following evening. I was sitting in the blue chair's empty space, though there was no chair there anymore. I had started lowering myself before remembering and ended up crouched strangely beside the lamp. The phone rang while I was trying to stand without using the coffee table. "Are you all right?" she asked when I answered. "Why? You're breathing hard." I misplaced a chair. "What?" "Nothing." She was quiet for a moment. "Would you come for coffee tomorrow? To the apartment?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you said not yet." "I'm asking if it's yet." I looked at the 4 dents in the carpet. "No tools?" I asked. "No tools." "Is the bookcase assembled?" "Yes." "Straight?" "Mostly." "That's not a word furniture should require." "Tom." "What time?" 6. "I'll come at 6. The Linden Apartments occupied the block where the movie theater had once stood. The theater had shown second-run films for $3 and sold popcorn that tasted faintly of the cardboard tub. Laura and I had taken Caleb there on rainy Saturdays, then complained when he quoted the movies for a week. Now the building was all gray brick, glass balconies, and signs warning visitors not to park anywhere visitors might reasonably park. I circled twice before finding a space. The lobby smelled like new carpet and someone's dinner. A television above the mailboxes displayed a weather report with no sound. I took the elevator to the 7th floor. Laura opened the door before I knocked. "You found it. It's a large building. You hate apartment parking. I've recently learned I hate several things." She stepped aside. New Beginning was beige. It was a warmer beige than the hallway, perhaps, but it was still beige. One wall behind the sofa had been painted. The edges near the ceiling were uneven. "You did that yourself?" I asked. "Yes. You needed a smaller brush." "No tools. A brush isn't a tool. It is tonight." The apartment was smaller than I had imagined. The kitchen opened into the living room. The blue armchair sat beside the balcony window, with its loose leg facing the wall. The bookcase stood on the opposite side, leaning so slightly that most people would never notice. I noticed. Laura noticed me noticing. "It's secure," she said. I didn't say anything. "You stared at it. I have eyes." She handed me coffee in a plain white mug. She used one from the matching set she claimed had only included 4. "You took 6, I said. She looked at the mug. "Denise gave me 2. "That explains the discrepancy? I'm glad we settled it." The dresser was visible through the open bedroom door, its mirror attached and intact. A quilt covered the bed. I recognized it from the upstairs closet. There were no photographs of us. Laura saw me looking. "I haven't decided what to put up yet." "You don't have to explain. I'm not explaining." "You are." She sat on the sofa. I lowered myself into the blue chair carefully. "The leg is fine," she said. "It's loose." The mover tightened it. He tightened the wrong bolt. "No tools?" I kept my hands on the mug. Through the balcony window, I could see the traffic on Wilkins and the empty lot beside the building. From 7 floors up, cars moved silently. "The door works," she said. "I'm happy for the door." The refrigerator stopped knocking. "What was it?" "The ice tray." "You said there was no ice maker?" "There is. It's hidden in the bottom freezer." "That seems dishonest." She smiled into her coffee. For a few minutes, we talked about the apartment, as if I were an old friend visiting her new place. She told me the woman across the hall played television too loudly. The man downstairs cooked something with cumin every night. The elevator stopped at the 4th floor, even when nobody was waiting. "The pottery studio is 2 blocks away," she said. "Are you taking the class?" I signed up. "Couples?" Her eyes met mine. "No." I looked back out the window. "It starts next month," she said. 6 Thursdays. Frank wants me to play trivia on Thursdays. You hate trivia. That's what I told him. "Are you going?" "I might." She laughed. "No, you won't." The certainty irritated me. "I said I might." "You say that when you mean no." "Apparently everybody has a guidebook. I lived with you for 36 years, and still scheduled the move before telling me." The warmth left the room. Laura set down her cup. "I invited you because I wanted one conversation that didn't end there." "End where?" "With the move." "The move is where you ended it." "I ended our marriage. I didn't end every conversation we will ever have." "What conversations do you want?" "I don't know. Normal ones. You want to tell me about the refrigerator. You asked what was wrong with it. Because you brought it up." She stood and carried her cup to the kitchen. "This was a mistake. I'm trying to understand." "No, you're doing what you always do. You're turning every sentence over until you find the sharp side." I put my mug on the small table beside the chair. "Your note said you didn't know whether you meant anything to me," I said. "Then you called to make sure I read it. What did you want me to do with that?" "I wanted you to understand why I left. You wanted me to answer the question after you made the answer irrelevant. It wasn't irrelevant to me." "Then why didn't you ask before you signed the lease?" "I did ask. You asked me to go to pottery. You asked me to take a trip. You asked me whether the hallways should be oatmeal. I asked if you were happy. You asked while I was replacing the bathroom fan. You said, 'Why wouldn't I be?' I thought I was happy. That isn't an answer. It was the answer I had." She leaned against the kitchen counter. "Do you know what I wanted Thursday night?" "Yes." "No, you don't. You wanted me to stop you." Her face changed the same way it had when I said it in our kitchen. This time, I did not let her look away. "Didn't you?" I asked. Her fingers closed around the edge of the counter. "Part of me," she said. "What part?" "The part that wanted proof." "Proof of what?" "That losing me would hurt you." I looked around the apartment she had built as a test I could only discover after it was complete. You picked the one kind of proof I couldn't give without ignoring what you said you wanted. I know. You had movers booked. You had Caleb. You looked me in the face and said it was over. I know. And because I believed you, you decided I didn't care. I didn't decide anything that night. You had been deciding for 8 months. Her eyes filled. I was terrified. So was I. You didn't look terrified. You didn't give me time to look anything. She covered her mouth for a moment, then lowered her hand. I'm lonely, she said. The admission was quiet enough that I nearly missed it. I wanted to tell her I was lonely too. I wanted to move to the sofa, take her hand, and make the room safer for both of us. Instead, I asked, "Where's Caleb?" Her expression closed. He hasn't been coming over as much. Because he's working on his marriage. I know that. Then let him. I am. Calling 3 times a day isn't letting him. I don't call 3 times a day. You did Sunday. He told you he didn't have to. She folded her arms. So now you and Caleb discuss me. No. We discuss what happened to us. I'm what happened to you. The secret is, she turned toward the window. I thought maybe we could have dinner once a week. The request hit me harder than it should have. Here or the house. We're still a family. You ended the marriage. I didn't stop caring whether you eat. You want Sundays without the rest of the week. That's not fair. No. She flinched at the familiar answer. I can't be your husband on retainer, I said. I can't fix the door, have dinner, listen when you're lonely, and then go back to the house you left when you feel steady again. I wasn't asking for that. You were asking for the part that feels normal. Maybe I miss normal, so do I. That was the closest I came to touching her. I stood. The blue chair shifted beneath me. Laura looked at the leg. Leave it, she said. I put my hands in my pockets. At the door, she said, will you come again? I don't know. That means no. It used to. I went to Trivia Thursday. Frank's team consisted of him, a retired mail carrier named Cheryl, and a man called Big Mike who was smaller than both of us. We finished 7th out of 9 teams because Frank insisted the capital of Australia was Sydney. On Friday evening, Caleb arrived with 2 lengths of treated lumber in his truck. The porch step sags, he said. I know. You have boards. So do you. He looked toward the garage, where the unfinished laundry shelves leaned against the wall. I thought we could fix the step, he said. I picked up my tape measure and tossed it to him. This time, he caught it. The porch step was worse than it looked. Once we removed the top board, we found the support beneath it had softened along one edge. Caleb pressed a screwdriver into the wood, and the tip sank half an inch. That seems bad, he said. It's not good. Can we replace just that section? No, why not? Because then the new board would be resting on the same weak frame. He glanced at me. That feels like a metaphor. It's lumber, right? We pulled the second board. Caleb worked the pry bar while I steadied it. He still tried to overpower tools instead of letting leverage do the work. At 13, he had bent one of my screwdrivers opening a paint can and denied it while holding both pieces. Move your hand down, I said. I've got it. You're fighting the bar. It started it. Move your hand. He did, and the board came free. We found more rot at the corner. Not enough to rebuild the porch, but enough to keep us there past dinner. Caleb sat on the grass and wiped sawdust from his forearms. Julia says we can't repair our marriage like a washing machine. She's probably right. She said I'm trying to identify the broken part so I can replace it and declare everything fixed. That sounds familiar. Yeah, I carried the rotten boards to the driveway. He followed with the pry bar. She's letting me stay home. Good. There are conditions. Reasonable ones. No lying. That sounds oppressive. He smiled. No talking to Mom about our marriage unless Julia knows. No talking to Julia about Mom unless I'm willing to say the same thing to Mom. That's a lot of administrative oversight. I agreed. Good. He leaned the pry bar against the truck. Mom didn't take it well. What did she say? That Julia was controlling me. What did you say? That asking me not to run 2 separate versions of my life wasn't control. I looked at him. What? He asked. Nothing. You're proud of me. I'm evaluating the sentence. You're proud of me. A little. He nodded, satisfied. We cut new supports in the garage. Caleb measured the first board, marked it, then handed me the saw. You cut it, I said. You're better. You have to get better somehow. He adjusted his safety glasses. If I lose a finger, Julia's going to blame you. If you lose a finger cutting a 2x6, I'll blame you. He made the cut. It was an eighth of an inch too long. I waited. He checked it against the opening and frowned. Don't say anything. I didn't. Your whole face is a measurement. He trimmed it. While he drilled the support into place, I noticed he had put the screws in his shirt pocket rather than scattering them across the porch. I didn't mention it. Pride could make him careless. When the frame was solid, we sat on the porch with 2 bottles of water. Caleb turned his between his palms. I owe you an apology that doesn't have Mom in it. I looked toward the street. I lied to you, he said. A lot. I sat in your kitchen and acted normal because it was easier for me. I helped choose the day she'd leave without thinking about what that day would feel like to you. I'm sorry. A car passed with its stereo loud enough to shake the loose storm window. I watched it reach the corner and disappear. Thank you, I said. He waited. I don't know if I forgive you yet. His mouth tightened, but he nodded. Okay, I want to. Is that supposed to help? It's what I have. He took a drink. I owe you one too, I said. For what? For letting your mother bring our marriage to you. Not just these 8 months. Before that. You didn't make her call me? No. But I kept walking away from conversations and pretending the conversation had ended. It had to go somewhere. He looked at me for a long moment. I don't know if I forgive you yet. Fair, I do want to. That helps. Julia arrived near 8 with sandwiches and a level. I heard there was construction, she said. Caleb took the level. We own one of these. Ours is under the washing machine because somebody used it to lift the front edge. It worked. It's a level, not a jack. She kissed his cheek. The motion was quick, but neither of them acted surprised by it. We ate on the porch before installing the top boards. Julia sat on the step and told us both supports were slightly off-center. They are not, Caleb said. She held up the level. That measures angle, he said. Not center. I brought the wrong tool for criticism. You brought the right personality. She bumped his shoulder with hers. They were not fixed. I could see it in the moments when Julia's smile faded too quickly, and Caleb watched her face for permission to relax. But they were in the same place, saying the same things in front of each other. That was more than Laura and I had managed for months. The new step was finished after dark. Caleb bounced on it twice. Solid, he said. It was the word he had used for Laura's dresser drawer, while both of them hid where it was going. This time, he heard it too. His eyes met mine. Neither of us changed the word. The house settled into a different rhythm after that. Frank dragged me to trivia every Thursday. Cheryl knew every state capital and refused to let Frank answer geography questions. Big Mike turned out to be a pharmacist who painted landscapes on weekends and became furious whenever the category involved Broadway musicals. We rose from 7th place to 5th. I finished the laundry room shelves and installed them in my own garage above the utility sink. They held paint, garden supplies, and the coffee tin containing the saved brass fitting. Frank called this proof that therapy should be covered by hardware stores. Caleb and Julia came for dinner twice. The first time, Julia brought lemon cake. The second time, Caleb made potatoes and put too much butter in them. Laura did not come. She texted sometimes. The messages were small enough to answer. The pottery class starts tonight. I wrote, don't make an ashtray. Nobody smokes. She replied with a photograph of a gray lump on a spinning wheel. It's a bowl. I studied the picture. It's leaning, I wrote. So was the bookcase. I laughed alone in the kitchen. One evening, she sent another photograph. The finished bowl had cracked during firing. A dark line ran from the rim to the center. I typed 3 practical explanations about moisture and uneven thickness, then deleted them. I'm sorry, I wrote. You looked proud of it. She called me immediately. I was, she said. Her voice sounded wet. You can make another one. I know. Was that the wrong thing to say? A little. I'm learning. I know. We stayed on the phone without speaking. I could hear traffic beyond her balcony. She could probably hear my dishwasher. I miss you, she said. I closed my eyes. I miss you too. Neither of us added anything that would turn the truth into a promise. Mary Ann's birthday dinner was held at an Italian restaurant near her townhouse. She claimed she wanted something small, then invited 14 people and complained the table was crowded. Laura arrived wearing a green dress I had never seen. Her hair was shorter, not dramatically, but enough that the shape of her face looked different. She saw me looking. "I got it cut," she said. I noticed. "Do you like it?" "Yes." "Is that the answer you have?" "No." "I really like it." She smiled and touched the ends self-consciously. Marianne had assigned seats with folded name cards. Mine was between Frank and Vince. Laura sat across from me beside Denise. I suspected Marianne had spent more time arranging the table than she had spent choosing the restaurant. Dinner was loud enough to protect us. Frank argued with Vince about electric cars. Denise described a kitchen renovation that had lasted 11 weeks. Laura laughed easily, though once I caught her staring at my empty left hand. I still wore my wedding ring. She was looking at the place where my hand rested beside the plate, not at the ring. When dessert arrived, Marianne tapped her glass and thanked everyone for tolerating her for 58 years. Then she pointed at me. "Some of you longer than others. You were 8 when I met you," I said. "And you already looked 40. Laura laughed so hard she lowered her head. For 1 second I could see us at 100 dinners, sharing the same private amusement while everybody else kept talking. Then she looked up, and the moment knew what it was. After dinner, I stood beside my truck while Frank spent 10 minutes saying goodbye to people he claimed not to like. Laura approached with her coat folded over one arm. "You seem different," she said. "My hair? You're talking to people. I've always talked to people. You used to leave as soon as dinner ended." Frank blocked me in. She glanced toward his car, which was parked 3 spaces away. "He did that on purpose?" "Almost certainly." Cold air moved through the lot. Laura slipped on her coat, but didn't button it. "Are you happier?" she asked. "I don't know. That means no. It means I don't measure every day that way." "I do." "How are the numbers?" "Mixed." I leaned against the truck. She looked toward the restaurant windows. "Caleb says you two fixed the porch. We fixed a step. He comes to see you. He comes to see you too. Not the same way." "No." She drew the coat tighter around herself. "Julia doesn't want him helping at the apartment unless I ask both of them. That sounds reasonable. It feels like I'm requesting committee approval to hang a picture. You have building maintenance. They don't hang pictures. Then use a nail." She smiled without humor. "There you are. I'm sorry. No, you're right. I can hang a picture." She studied my face. "Is there someone else?" The question surprised me enough that I laughed. "That's flattering. I'm serious." "No." "Would you tell me? We're not married in the way that gives you a vote." She flinched. "There's no one," I said more gently. "I thought you might have met someone at trivia. The only available woman on our team is Cheryl, and she has threatened to hit Frank with a menu, so she has good judgment." We both smiled. Then Laura said, "I don't want the apartment to be the only honest conversation we ever have. What are you asking? Come to the house Saturday." "You mean my house?" Her eyes tightened. I regretted it immediately. "Our house," I said. "The house. I want to sit at the table where I told you. I want to say what I should have said before I left." "Why now?" "Because I keep waiting for the move to feel like the beginning of something. It still feels like a room I ran into and locked behind me." I looked through the restaurant window at Frank, who was arguing with the hostess about whether the wrapped bread on an empty table would be thrown away. "What happens after we talk?" I asked. "I don't know. That's becoming popular. It's the truth." Saturday was 4 days away. "All right," I said. Laura released a breath. 6 o'clock, I added. "I'll be there." She walked to her car. Before getting in, she turned back. "Tom?" "Yes?" "Please don't prepare what you're going to say." "I won't." It was the first promise she had asked from me that I wasn't sure I knew how to keep. I spent 4 days not preparing. By Friday night, I had cleaned the kitchen twice, changed the bulb over the dining table, and arranged 6 different conversations in my head. In one, I was calm and devastating. In another, Laura apologized so completely that I forgave her without effort. In the version I liked least, she cried, and I fixed everything simply because I knew how. Saturday morning, I took her note from the drawer. The paint samples came out with it. Warm oatmeal, weathered flax, new beginning. I spread them across the table and read the note again. "I am sorry for how I did this. I don't know how to be sorry for needing to." The first time I read it, the second sentence had felt like a door closing. This time, I saw the space between the 2 thoughts. She regretted the wound, but still believed the escape had saved her. Both could be true. I put the note back in the drawer. The paint samples stayed on the table until noon, when I returned all three to the junk drawer beneath the takeout menus. At 5:45, I made coffee. At 5:50, I changed my shirt. At 5:55, I changed it back. Laura knocked at exactly 6. She wore jeans, a cream sweater, and no coat despite the cold. Her hands were empty. I opened the door. "Hi," she said. "Hi." She stepped inside, but remained on the mat. "Do you want my key? Do you want to give it back?" I asked first. "That's never stopped either of us." She looked down at the key ring in her hand. It held the house key, her car key, a small metal tag from a vacation rental in Maine, and 2 keys I didn't recognize. "I don't know," she said. "Then keep it tonight." She nodded and put it in her purse. We went to the kitchen. The coffee sat in the pot, but neither of us poured any. Laura looked around. The house had changed in ways too small for anyone else to notice. The red bowl with the chip was on the counter holding apples. The Gardner mug sat beside the sink. Frank's Chinese food menu was attached to the refrigerator with a magnet that used to hold Caleb's work schedule. "You installed the shelves," she said, "in the garage. Do they fit?" I adjusted them. "Of course you did." She touched the back of the chair where she had sat when she ended the marriage. "Here?" she asked. "Wherever you want." We sat in the same places. She wrapped both hands around nothing. I placed mine flat on the table, then moved them to my lap because the position looked staged. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, Laura said, "I'm sorry." I waited. She gave me a tired smile. "You're waiting for the other half." "Yes, there isn't one." "All right. I'm sorry I told Caleb before I told you. I'm sorry I let him become part of the plan. I'm sorry I signed the lease and scheduled the movers and then acted as if giving you 9 days was honesty." Her voice shook, but she kept looking at me. "I'm sorry about the dresser," she continued. "You fixed it because I asked you to, and I stood there knowing where it was going." Caleb held the flashlight. "He didn't need to." "I know. I asked him to stay because I was afraid I'd tell you if we were alone." That detail hurt more than I expected. "You almost told me?" "Several times." "When?" "The dresser, the carpet samples, the night we ate at Frank's birthday." You nudged my knee. "Because you were about to correct his fishing story. He changed the size of the fish. He always changes the size. It was a foot longer than the last time." She smiled, then covered it with one hand. "I hated myself that night," she said. "Everybody was laughing, and you ordered my drink without asking because you knew what I wanted. I thought, how can I leave this man?" Then you and Frank argued in the parking lot, and on the drive home, you talked for 20 minutes about his tire pressure. It was low. I know. I should have asked why you were quiet. Yes. The word was soft, not accusing. I looked at the empty wall above her. Why didn't you tell me then? Because every day I waited made the truth uglier. After I signed the lease, I knew you wouldn't just hear that I was leaving. You'd hear that I had been lying. You were right. I told myself I was protecting you from months of uncertainty. That if everything was arranged, at least you wouldn't have to wonder what I would decide. You made me wonder what had been real. I know. Do you? Yes. She reached into her purse and took out a folded piece of paper. I looked at it. It's not a list, she said. Good. It's a letter. I wrote it in case I couldn't say this. You asked me not to prepare. I know. Did you prepare for me? Yes. That seems unfair. It is. She returned the letter to her purse without opening it. What did you want to happen that night? I asked. When I told you? Yes. She looked toward the doorway leading into the dining room. I pictured you getting angry, she said. Not violent. You've never frightened me that way. I thought you might raise your voice. I thought you might tell me I was making a terrible mistake. Would you have listened? I don't know. You wanted me to ask you to stay. Yes. Would you have stayed? Maybe for the night. That isn't staying. No. I felt my jaw tighten. You wanted a reaction, not a marriage. I wanted evidence that there was still a marriage. You scheduled movers as a test. I didn't think of it that way. That doesn't mean it wasn't. I know. There it was again. No defense. I had imagined wanting that from her. Now that she was giving it, I felt almost lost without something to push against. I wanted you to fight, she said, and I made sure you couldn't fight without disrespecting what I said. I understand that now. Do you? When you gave the list back, I thought you were being cold. Then I stood in the apartment surrounded by boxes and realized I had expected you to help make my escape comfortable. You had Caleb. Yes. He called me about the dresser clips. I called you. You put him on. I know. And after you moved, every time something didn't work, you called him. At first, you moved me out of the role and put him in it. Her face tightened. Yes, I had expected denial. The agreement took the force out of the next sentence I had prepared. Laura rubbed her palms against her jeans. The first week, I thought I needed help. The second week, I realized I wanted someone to witness that I was struggling. Caleb was the only person who knew the whole story, so I kept reaching for him. He didn't know the whole story. No, he knew mine. And mine was what? She took her time. That you loved through work, she said. That you were dependable. That you were patient. That you would do anything for us as long as nobody asked you to name what you felt. That sounds kind. It wasn't always the way I said it. What did you say? That you use competence to make yourself impossible to criticize. That every time I was upset, you found something useful to do, so I looked unreasonable for interrupting. I looked at the change bulb above us. You weren't wrong, I said. Laura's eyes lifted to mine. I knew what I was doing sometimes, I continued. Not at first. But later, yes. I knew silence made you feel louder. I knew if I stayed calm long enough, you'd either apologize or leave the room. She sat very still. I told myself I was preventing a fight, I said. Sometimes I was winning one. Tom, I let you believe nothing got to me because being the unshakable one gave me control. Then I blamed you for believing it. She looked down at her hands. At dinner with Julia and Caleb, I said, you told me I kept my hands clean and still made everybody bleed. I shouldn't have said that. You were right. I was angry. Both can be true. A small, surprised laugh escaped her. Marianne really did get to you. She was sedated. It made her powerful. Laura wiped beneath one eye. I enjoyed it when Julia confronted Caleb, I said. Not all of it. But part of me liked watching the secret hurt someone besides me. I accused you of that. Yes. You denied it. I wasn't ready to know. The coffee machine clicked as the warming plate shut off. Laura looked toward it. Do you want coffee? No, neither do I. We remained at the table. I loved being needed, I said. It was safer than being known. If I fixed the thing, I didn't have to ask whether you still wanted me after it was fixed. I did, until you didn't. I still wanted you. I didn't want the way we were. You told me the marriage was over. I thought it had to be. What do you think now? She looked around the kitchen. I think I ended it before I understood what ending it would actually mean. That sounds like regret. It is. Regret isn't the same as wanting it back. I know. What do you want? You asked me that the night I left. I asked what you wanted me to say, and I didn't know. Do you know now? She took a breath. I want to stop living inside the version of you I gave Caleb, she said. I want you to stop living inside the version of me who packed boxes while you slept. I want us to talk without trying to prove which one of us caused the ending. That sounds reasonable. It sounds small. It isn't. No. She glanced toward the sideboard. The wedding picture faced us from across the room. Do you still love me? She asked. Yes. The answer came before I could protect it. She closed her eyes. But I don't trust you, I said. Her eyes opened. I don't trust that you'll tell me before you decide something for both of us. I don't trust that an ordinary dinner isn't happening on top of a secret. That's fair, and you shouldn't trust me either. I don't know yet if I can speak before I've turned everything into a task. I don't know if I'll listen when the thing you say makes me feel like I failed. I don't want the old marriage back, she said. Neither do I. I want another chance. At what? At us. The clock above the sink ticked through several seconds. Laura reached into her purse and put the house key on the table between us. I thought I should return this, she said, but I don't want returning it to be the only honest thing I do tonight. Her fingertips rested beside the key. Tom, she said, can I come home? No. The word came out quietly. Laura's fingertips left the key. I watched her understand that I had not said not yet. I had not said, give me time. I had answered the question she asked. She leaned back in the chair. All right, I don't want you to go back to the apartment alone tonight thinking I don't love you. But you don't want me here. Not like this. What does that mean? It means you moved out because the marriage we had was hurting you. You being lonely doesn't make that marriage safe to move back into. I didn't say I was only lonely. No. You said more tonight than you've said to me in years. and it still isn't enough. It's enough for tonight. It isn't enough to carry your boxes back." She turned her face away. I wanted to reach across the table. Instead, I held on to the underside of my chair until the urge passed. "I thought honesty was what you wanted," she said. "It is. Then why does this feel like punishment?" "Because the honest answer is no." Her eyes returned to mine. "Would you have said yes if I hadn't asked? That question doesn't make sense. It does to me." I thought about it. "If you had shown up with boxes, I would have helped you unload them," I said. "Then I would have hated you for knowing I would." Laura's expression crumpled. "And I would have hated myself," I added, "because being useful would have felt so much like being loved that I'd let us skip everything we said tonight." She wiped her cheek with one finger. "I'm not asking you to fix anything. You're asking me to make home mean what it meant before. No. I'm asking if we can make it mean something different. Maybe we can, but not with your dresser upstairs tomorrow," she laughed through her tears. "You really don't want to move that dresser again." "I never wanted to move it the first time." "I know." The clock ticked above the sink. The coffee in the pot had gone dark and bitter. "What happens now?" she asked. "We keep talking. Here? Sometimes? At the apartment? Sometimes? Dinner? Not every Sunday." "I didn't mean every Sunday. You did before." "I know." I looked at the key between us. "The old marriage is over." Her mouth tightened. "You were right about that," I continued. "I just don't think ending it means we have to become strangers. Maybe we learn who we are when neither of us is performing the old job. And if we don't like those people, then at least we'll know who we're leaving." She lowered her eyes to the table. "That's a terrible promise," she said. "It's the only one I trust. Are we separated? You have an apartment. Are we getting divorced?" "I don't know." "Do you want to?" "I don't know that either." She nodded slowly. "You're allowed not to know." "I keep forgetting that." "So do I." I picked up the key. The metal was warm from her hand. "This belongs here," she said. "The lock belongs here. The key belongs to whoever lives here." She looked at me. I placed it in my pocket. Her face changed again, but this time she did not argue. At the front door, she put on her coat. We stood close enough that I could smell the soap she had used for 30 years. The scent reached somewhere beneath language. "Can I hug you?" she asked. "Yes." She stepped into me carefully, as if I had an injured rib. Then my arms went around her, and caution disappeared. Laura fit against me exactly the way she always had. That was the danger. My body recognized home before my mind could object. She pressed her face into my shoulder. I felt her breath through my shirt. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know. I'm going to keep saying it. You probably should." She laughed once and held on tighter. When we separated, she touched my chest but did not kiss me. "I'll call you," she said. "Call once." Her eyes narrowed. "That was a joke. You need more practice." She walked to her car. I waited on the porch until she drove away. Inside, I carried the key upstairs. I nearly put it in the junk drawer with the note and paint samples, then stopped. That drawer was where we put things we didn't want to decide about. I placed the key in the small wooden box on the dresser where I kept spare keys that no longer opened anything important. Caleb called the next morning. "Mom told me you said no. She told you quickly. She called last night. What did she want you to do?" "Nothing." "That's new." "She said she needed someone to know." And I listened. I waited. "I didn't offer to call you," he added. "I didn't explain what you probably meant. I didn't tell her what she should do. That sounds difficult. It was extremely boring." I smiled. "What do you think?" I asked. "About you saying no?" "Yes, I think you're both adults. That isn't an answer. It's the one I have." I heard myself in him and almost objected. Then I heard the difference. He wasn't avoiding a feeling. He was refusing a role. "That's fair," I said. "Are you going to see her again?" "Yes." "When?" "We haven't decided." "Okay." He did not ask me to keep him informed. Laura and I met 4 days later at the diner near the interstate. She chose it because neither of us had memories there. I did not tell her about the arguing couple and the spring coming through the sofa. She ordered pie before dinner. "You'll ruin your appetite," I said. "I'm 60. You were 59 when I used to say that. And I ignored you then, too." The coconut cream arrived from the rotating case. I took a picture and sent it to Frank. He replied, "Funeral home supply chain. Laura read the message and laughed until the people in the next booth looked over. That first dinner lasted an hour. We did not discuss the marriage until the check arrived. Then Laura said she had told Caleb she would no longer call him about the apartment, unless she would make the same request if he lived in another state. That seems oddly specific, I said. He said distance shouldn't be required for boundaries. Julia? Probably. Good line. Yes. We met again the following week. Then we skipped 2 weeks because I went to trivia and Laura had pottery. She did not ask me to change my plans. The next time I visited the apartment, the blue chair no longer rocked. You fixed it, I said. I watched a video. Did you tighten the bolt beneath the dust cover? Yes. The rear one? Yes. You used a washer. She pointed at the door. You can leave. I sat down. The chair was solid. Laura made another bowl. It leaned more than the first one, but it survived the kiln. She gave it to Marianne, who used it for gum wrappers and called that artistic freedom. I began saying things before they were polished. Some of them came out badly. One evening, Laura canceled dinner because Denise needed help choosing tile. I told her it was fine, then called back 10 minutes later. It isn't fine, I said. Do you need me? No, I was looking forward to seeing you, and I'm disappointed. She was quiet. Did I say it wrong? No, she said. I was just waiting for the rest. There isn't any. I can tell Denise I'm busy. Don't do that because I called. I'll do it because I want to see you. She came over carrying takeout. We ate on the porch step Caleb and I had repaired. A month later, I arrived at the apartment 20 minutes late. Traffic, I said. Laura looked at me. I put down my keys. There was no traffic. What happened? I sat in the driveway because I was angry. About what? You invited Caleb and Julia without asking me. I thought it would be nice. It might be. I still wanted you to ask. She nodded. You're right, I know. That part still needs work. It does. Caleb and Julia arrived 5 minutes later. We ate at Laura's small table, which seated 4, only if nobody objected to knees. The bookcase still leaned. I kept my hands away from it. Dinner was awkward in places. Nobody pretended otherwise. When Laura started telling Julia why Caleb had been too busy to help with a picture, she stopped herself. That sounded like a message, she said. It did, Caleb replied. I'm sorry, he nodded. Nothing shattered. Frank's trivia team eventually reached 3rd place, largely because Cheryl stopped allowing us to confer with Frank. Laura came once and answered a question about French Impressionists that moved us into 2nd. On the drive home, she asked whether I minded her joining something that had become mine. I minded a little, I said. Do you want me not to come back? No. I liked you there. Both can be true. Apparently. She took my hand across the console. It was the first time we had touched without asking since she moved. We did not discuss returning home again for a long time. The apartment stopped being a waiting room. Laura painted the 2nd wall herself. She made friends with the woman across the hall and learned that the 4th floor elevator problem was caused by an old button that stuck. She went to Savannah with Denise in March. The hotel was expensive. She did not ask what I thought of the price. I moved the wedding photograph off the sideboard. For 2 days, the pale rectangle remained empty. Then I hung a framed photograph of the Chicago Bridge itself. Not us, just the river, the steel, and the buildings beyond it. Laura saw it and stood quietly beneath it. I like that one, she said. So do I. Where's the other picture? Upstairs. You didn't throw it away? No. She kissed my cheek. When the 12th came around again, I woke before dawn without immediately knowing why the date felt heavy. Then I remembered the freight elevator, the tape measure, the dresser clips, and Caleb standing in the garage with 2 coffees. I made breakfast and went to work. That evening, Caleb knocked on the front door. He still had a key. He had started knocking anyway. Julia stood behind him, holding a lemon cake. Frank's car pulled into the driveway before I could ask what they were doing there. You planned something, I said. Caleb looked uncomfortable. A little. Did everybody know but me? The joke landed badly. His face changed. Dad, I didn't. I'm joking. You need more practice. So I've heard. Inside, Frank complained that Caleb had bought the wrong beer. Julia put the cake in the refrigerator. Laura arrived carrying a casserole dish with a towel wrapped around it. She had not moved home. We had not decided whether she ever would. She kissed me at the door, not on the cheek this time. Dinner filled the dining room with noise. Frank argued about electric cars. Julia corrected his geography. Laura and Caleb cleared the plates together, then stopped when they realized they had both reached for the same towel. After dessert, Caleb followed me onto the porch. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes." "Really?" "No." He leaned against the railing. "I kept thinking about that morning," he said. "When you asked how long I knew. So did I. I'm sorry. I know." The new step held beneath our weight. Crickets worked in the dark grass. Through the window, I could see Laura laughing at something Julia had said. Caleb looked back at them. "What happens next?" he asked. "I don't know yet." He waited. A year earlier, I would have filled the silence. I would have offered a schedule, a repair, a promise I could measure. Instead, I looked at my son. "But this time," I said, "nobody gets to decide it without me.